If you're a person who believes in freedom of speech, you have to fight and say what you feel and let the chips fall where they may.
Say whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Next time, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
This has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things was my way. When it all gets ripped away, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide faded grapes so far away. Sometimes it gets hard to breathe when it's thrown up in my face.
Well, you can't say whatever you want and face retaliation for it later. That's what we've been told. However, there's a newspaper conglomerate out there, and I'm sure there's more than one that will do their best to try to do exactly that, is to bring some consequences for the things that you say. And man, we saw that in spades in these last two meetings at the school board, Doc. This one kind of blew me away. They spent column inches on us, man.
Yeah, it's like clockwork, man. Every time we do a live stream and mention how stupid LJ World is, they come out with a hit piece a few days later, and here we are. This one here was front page news there in Lawrence, man.
Yeah, and for the weekend edition, let me grab that real quick. This thing was brought up. It was the weekend edition for Valentine's Day, and it came with a folding cover here. I'll hold it up here where people can see it. And so right there on the front page, as soon as they open it up, there's the big story on the front page. And then if you go to page 6, they've God, I bet they've at least 2/3 of the page, damn near, Doc.
Yeah, it's like the whole damn page. It's like the whole damn page. And that's the article right there, a public comment crisis, and the subtitle of it is "Leaders are recessing their meetings and leaving the room," and one now says it's time to discuss whether comment periods have become too disruptive.
Well, and I want to talk about comment periods becoming disruptive, because what they're claiming in this article over and over and over, and I've heard it from a number of different people around here, is that I basically, since I was the one that was there that refused to step down during my public speaking time, I basically held them hostage, is what they're trying to say. And, you know, nothing further from the truth could be, you know, somebody said it good on a Facebook comment I saw. This could have been over in 3 minutes if they would have just let me speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably would have been over in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, actually. But
right,
you know, they drug this on over longer than it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and you know, the article starts out, for the first time since a pair of public commenters began routinely disrupting government meetings in Lawrence, an official has mentioned the possibility of terminating public comment. And that's not accurate either, because they've talked about terminating public comment before at different places. But I don't think the will is there to do that. And I think there's
recall them ever doing
that realize, yeah.
I don't recall them ever doing that.
No, when they moved it to the end at the city. They had talked about ending it. Yeah.
Well, at City, yeah, they not only moved it to the end, but they also stopped live broadcasting general public comment as well. But for the school district, now this is them first time saying that they're considering removing it entirely.
Right. Yeah. And you know, the interesting thing about all this is they're acting as though all our sole purpose is to come in there and yell at them and scream curse words.
Yeah, they completely leave out you know, what would be, you know, context or the backstory of why we're in there. And it has nothing to do with going in there and thinking that we're just going to go in there and yell and cuss names and stuff like that. This is the ultimate victim blaming. The reason why I go in there and speak is because I have a lawsuit against them for discriminating against my speech in there, where they allow some people to say things and then I go and say the same thing and they completely remove me from the meeting. Had they not done that, I wouldn't be going to their meetings. But
and when they talk about they don't even mention that you're suing the school district in this. They talk about various lawsuits, but the one they focus on is the city, and they say in there that the judge has.
We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to
this and that and the other. But you've actually got a lawsuit against the district for what they're actually doing right now, and that's what you're wanting to speak to them about.
Right, and so that, yeah, before we jump into the article fully, that's kind of the important backstory of it. Is back in last month in January, I signed up to speak at the school district for general public comment because there had been a recent ruling in my lawsuit against the school district, and my lawsuit against the school district stems from a few incidents back in 2022 where, like I just mentioned, some people are allowed to talk about the same topic that I wasn't allowed to talk about. So one of the times there was a guy in there that he was the pastor. He was the superintendent's pastor, and he spoke during general public comment and spoke over the top favorably of the superintendent, mentioned him by name, said that he was sent by God, all kinds of things. And so a few speakers later, it's my turn. And I say, I just want to remind everybody that the superintendent, Anthony Lewis, makes, $236,500 and some dollars. And other administrator, Patrick Kelly, he makes, and then they stopped me and said, you're not allowed to talk about staff, even though they had just let the pastor talk about the superintendent in a favorable light. And so I go, okay, well, and so this was during COVID. And so I said, okay, well, there was a student there in USD 497 who refused to wear a mask. And they go, oh, you're not allowed to talk about students, even though 3 speakers before me spent their time talking not only about a student, but naming the students, using their voices and voice recordings. Mine was anonymous. And they said, if you have a complaint, you're not allowed to make complaints here. And I'm like, I'm not making a complaint. What the fuck are you talking about? You're gaslighting me. I ain't fucking making no complaint. I'm trying to tell you that the superintendent's salary is $236,000, that kind of thing.
Right.
And they removed me from the meeting. And so that had absolutely nothing to do with me going in there and just wanting to fucking yell and be a disruption. I was trying to fucking speak, and they discriminated against
Justin,
me.
what they do, what they've mixed up is they've mixed you and I up, and we're just one and the same to them. Because in actuality, what's going on here is you're going in to talk to them about the lawsuits and the realities of what's going on. And I'm going to put this up on the screen, because what you don't maybe know all the time in the background is I'm watching this and I'm sending emails to them. And after that January meeting, when they shut you down, I sent an email to them basically telling them what my intent was and why I was coming to that meeting. And so they need to separate you and I in this. And that's something I think they don't do, because you're not the one in there throwing all the cuss words. I am, to make the point that you are allowed to speak. And that's what they're missing.
Well, we are separate people, but I do cuss as well. But yeah, we're separate people, but we get lumped in together because we go and we speak at these meetings.
Right.
And so when I was speaking at that meeting there last month, giving an update on because like I said, the judge had just made a ruling on it, and the ruling was that my lawsuit was going forward. It had survived the motion to dismiss, and it was going forward on viewpoint discrimination, unequal protection, and retaliation. And I say that in the meeting. I give that update, and completely absent from LJ World's article is that lawsuit exists at all, and also that it's going forward on those three very serious First Amendment and 14th Amendment rights violations. And they're completely silent on it.
That's contradictory to the narrative that they need to uphold. They need to uphold the narrative that we're pointless being in there and we have no right to be there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for them to come out and say, well, the judge upheld this, and this, that's going to be that's not going to spin it right.
It would burst their narrative. It would turn the school board from looking like the victim in their eyes to the actual authoritarian boards that they are. That
exactly
silence speech that they don't like, and they discriminate against people. And so when I went to speak at that meeting after I gave that update, when you sign up to speak, they send you an email with the rules, and in the rules I noticed that it said foul language isn't used, and so I just mentioned, I was like, that's bullshit, man. I read that's bullshit. And they threw me out of the meeting. And so that's what got you in there. It had nothing to do with like, oh, you or I are wanting to go in there and just fucking yell. And
exactly.
We're not even yelling.
And not only that, but Justin, they were warned. I told them exactly what I was going to be doing when I sent this email. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to say words that you're not going to like, and you can't shut me down. And it was that clear. It's not like I said, I'm going to come in there and I'm just going to hurl cuss words at you for no apparent reason whatsoever.
Right. So, yeah. So on top of all that, like you're saying there is this, this is an important issue. It's a constitutional issue. This is a school board that has to operate under the Constitution.
Right.
And it therefore becomes an issue, an important issue to discuss in there when they're shutting down free speech. So you're going in there and educating them and discussing with them. It's not some sort of disruption. It's not at all. It's not some sort of intent to go in there and do anything, say anything to anybody.
Right.
And right. What ended up happening is, the meeting after that, one of the school board members is participating online, and they call me up to speak. I'm online as well. And before I start speaking, she says onto her unmuted computer, "Crazy Justin Spiess." Entirely left out of this article.
Left out of this completely. Yes, it's not in there at all, because there's the whole front part. And then, guys, I wasn't kidding when I was talking about they dedicated more than half a page to this. This is the story they wrote. And
so they paint this picture that you and I are going in there hurling insults at them, while they're completely silent on the fact that Ann Costello, that school board member, called me Crazy Justin Spiess,
right?
Which is a violation of decorum. And it's also because it happened outside of general public comment. And it also is a disruption of the meeting because she didn't have the floor.
Exactly.
Fucking floor. You talk about a disruption. That's a disruption. And plus, as I'm getting ready to speak now, I'm being called crazy. That disrupts me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, that bitch just called me crazy. What the fuck is that? That disrupts the flow of the meeting, man.
You talk about disrupting. You talk about disrupting the flow. I have to hit on this. Judith Matthews and I were talking earlier, and she asked that. She said she hopes the aspect of self-censorship comes in, and that we all have the right to free speech. But how many deny themselves? And she talks about parents being unwilling to speak to a school board. And I told her, I said, I've personally had somebody tell me that I've got to watch what I say. I've got kids in the district. And when that is the norm on the street, and you have parents that are afraid to speak truth to power or speak their minds on issues that are real for their kids, just simply because their kids might come under fire for it, retaliation for it? Really, is that the pettiness that we have in Lawrence? And it appears that it is.
It seems like it, but also on the other side of that is I think that concern that retaliation could always take place, is something that people they need to get over. They need to.
Well, let's look at the people though, and this is a lot of my motivation. Let's look at the people though that go in there for the first time and they're really nervous to speak and everything, and they get up there and they start to talk, and then Kelly Jones interrupts them and says they're not in the right place, or they're not standing properly, or they're not facing the right direction.
I agree. But
it throws them off, and it disrupts their public comment to the point that they are unable to proceed with the way they wanted to.
Oh, it chills speech, no doubt about it. But I'm just saying that, as Americans, that can't be an excuse for us to forfeit our rights.
No, it's not an excuse to forfeit rights, but it is damn sure a reason to push back against these people that would interrupt and do these things.
No doubt. And so more people need to actually use their rights and go in there and speak.
Well, and there's a lot of people out there that act like, again, that we're going in there just to raise hell, just to cause problems. We're not there to cause a problem. We're there to fix a problem. We're there to fix a problem for the rest of the people so that they can speak. Now, what's going to happen?
Well, I'm there just to speak my mind.
Well,
speak my mind. If people learn,
you have every right to do that.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. I'm there just to speak my mind. That's it. Speaking my mind.
But they add a lot of intent to this in this article. They say that it's pretty heartbreaking considering at this point that they have to stop it.
Let's start at the beginning.
And well, the front page.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Right. For the first time since a pair of public commenters routinely began disrupting public meetings in Lawrence, an official has mentioned the possibility of terminating public comment. On Monday night, the Lawrence School Board President Kelly Jones, after approximately a 30-minute standoff, it was 25 minutes and 39 seconds basically, but a standoff with commenter Michael Irby, who was refusing to obey board rules, said the time had come to discuss whether public commenting in its current form had simply become too disruptive. So now, that term by itself right there, a public commenter, they're being deemed disruptive. Public comment is disruptive to them. Right. And it's not the aspect of public comment, it's the words that we say, and it's not even how we say them. It's those words themselves.
Yeah. I mean, by definition, you can't even become disruptive during your general public comment. You have the free speech to say whatever you want to say. So
again, there's limitations on that, threats and things like that. But you do have the floor, and you do have free speech. The decorum rule, as far as how you speak, does not apply.
Outside of that, once you start that 3 minutes, those 3 minutes are set aside for you. So there's nothing that you could do. Now, if you went beyond that 3 minutes, that would be what's considered a disruption. Now, the school board tries to put in these arbitrary things like you can't use foul language, but that's unconstitutional. And so the LJ world, notice that they say that that you failed to obey board rules. Well, what rules are you even talking about? The fact that he didn't stand by a podium. Well, first of all, where the fuck is that said that you got to stand at the podium? Well, who says that? Why do you got to stand at the podium?
Well, and they say here nothing in state law requires that governing bodies hear public comment, but in their meetings, and they say that local entities have grappled for years now with how to run efficient civil business meetings in the face of routine disruptions and the flouting of decorum rules. And it's real easy, guys. And I couldn't have made it clearer here in the last email that I sent to Kelly Jones after this last little debacle, this last line here, guys. It's really simple. 3 minutes. If you can't handle 3 minutes, you should have never ran for office. It's that simple. We have that time.
Simple as that. And I want to talk about that decorum rules down there at the bottom of that sentence there. They're trying to say that within the 3 minutes there's some sort of violation of decorum rules. Well, there's no decorum rules within that three minutes, because if there was some sort of requirement for decorum, well, then you no longer have free speech. Exactly. Now if during prior to or after general public comment, you're sitting in the audience and you yell out something or you object to something, or you call someone a name, those decorum rules would apply outside of,
100%.
outside of the general public comment, because that would disrupt the business of it. But while your 3 minutes is going, there's no guide rail on that, especially for something called decorum. Like, why in the world would there be a limitation on how you can present your ideas to a board if you're upset to a certain degree that you still had to follow some kind of decorum? Well, now your messaging is being shifted and crafted by the government.
100%.
Limiting what you say and what you can do, and therefore you can't get your message across in the way that you feel you want it to get across. And in the same breath, it's robbing everyone else of their First Amendment right to hear what you are saying in the way that you want to say it. Instead, what you get is what the government wants you to say and how you want to say it. And that's what makes me so sick about LJ World running cover for this and people in the community hating on us for this. Like, you want the fucking government to tell you how you can speak. You want it to be so that if you're so mad, like let's say, for example, right now, there's a teacher in USD 497 who's been arrested for sexually abusing elementary kid students.
Right.
You mean to tell me that a parent couldn't go in there that had a child that was raped by one of their kids and go in there and be upset with them? Is that what you're trying to tell me, USD 497? Is that what you're trying to tell me, LJ World, that even that person has to have decorum? What about during COVID when I didn't want people masking my daughter? I got to go in there and be respectful of you motherfuckers while I feel like you're disrespecting me? Give me a break. You guys want,
but that's what's expected by the people up there on that dais that think their feelings is all that matters.
Well, it's not only them, it's LJ World, it's their editor Chad Lawhorn, it's the bitch Kim Callahan that wrote this, and Josie Highsmith, and it's the citizens in Lawrence that want us out of there. They want the government controlling them. It's the damnedest thing, man. It's the fucking damnedest thing.
Something I was thinking about earlier, we've got Kimball quoted here, we've got Jones quoted, we got going way back to Craig Owens being quoted in here and everything from a long time ago. I have not once had these fuckers reach out to me for any kind of comment or to ask me any kind of question about why I'm there or what I'm doing or what I'm trying to accomplish or what I think about this or that. Not once do they ever reach out and ask for any comment. They just write their one-sided story. And that's what I'm talking about. That to me is highly indicative of simple propaganda when they don't contact the other side, the people that they're actually reporting about. They don't even contact them for comment.
The whole story is about us. It's about me and you, and they don't even fucking bother to ask us our side of the story or to even reach out for comment. Not at all. And then and then the morons in Lawrence read it and go, "Oh man, they're really bad fucking dudes, man. They fucking suck," that kind of shit. It's like, guys, have some critical thinking. They're not even asking our side of the fucking story on this, and the story is about us. It's a total hit piece.
Right.
We don't even have to defend ourselves in it.
And see what they do here, and I don't know if I can stand reading out this whole article because it's just such bullshit. But they talk about my behavior at the meeting, including disobeying board rules, which he dismissed as bullshit, and using foul language, calling officials crude names, demanding that they shut up. Now, the thing is, they're taking things out of context, acting like speech is behavior again. Now, and this is, again, nothing but feelings enforcement. And they complain right above this about the officers who won't assist them. Now, I want to talk about that for a reason. There's a couple reasons, and we mentioned this the other day. There's reasons those officers did not step up and try to do anything to assist them. And it's something that this newspaper should be able to clearly understand because they operate underneath those damn freedoms themselves.
Well, yeah, and we've taught the LPD that they can't enforce those arbitrary made-up rules like that because we're not breaking the law. Now, again, if you were, prior to your 3 minutes, hooping and hollering, yelling out stuff, then yes, you are disrupting the meeting. It's like you challenged them during the meeting. You said, "Hey, the charge is 215922. If you think it can stick, fucking charge me with it."
Right.
Where's the fucking charge? Because you're not and that law, that statute is disrupting public business. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's not a crime is because, going back to what we were talking about, a constitutionally protected activity, which is speaking during your 3 minutes, is, no matter what you want to say, is a protected activity that cannot be turned into a crime.
Exactly.
And because the police would be arresting you and hauling you out of there, but they're not.
Yep.
And that raises another issue, is that I'm speaking online, and as soon as I cuss, I'm removed from the meeting because I get hung up on. You're speaking in person, you cuss, you can't be removed because you're not breaking the law. Why am I getting removed? Why doesn't LJ World fucking ask that question? Why don't they report on that? Instead, what they do is they lie and they say that I was muted. And so I emailed them this morning, I think, and I said, you need to update your story, guys, because, again, this is disinformation. I wasn't muted. I was removed from the meeting. I have the screenshot. Once they hung up on me, I fucking screenshotted it, said, you've been removed from the meeting.
Right.
You've been muted. And not only that, you can hear Kelly Jones herself give the fucking directive to have me removed. But yet LJ World still only writes that I was muted but not removed. It's unbelievable how much they just completely overlook to feed their fucking narrative.
Right. And I wanted to bring up, I don't have that screenshot handy to bring up, but yeah, it said right there that the host has removed you from the meeting.
I put it in my video.
Yeah. That's a damn sight different from being just muted.
And so then it goes back to the point that I was making is, well, why won't the police remove you, but the school board can hang up on me? And if LJ World was a serious journalist organization that weren't a bunch of lazy journalists, they'd go read the ruling that the judge had on USD 497, because it's the same fucking thing. I was removed online simply by being hung up when it would not happen to people in person.
But look right here. Instead of going and looking at that ruling, what they do is take the out of context lawsuit with the city and write about it instead.
Yeah. And misrepresent that as well. They're always so quick to say that the judge in the city lawsuit has ruled that the case is unlikely to succeed on the merits, without recognizing and reporting on the fact that also has survived the motion to dismiss. And the things that survived were viewpoint discrimination and retaliation. And the two mayors, Shipley and Larson, both got stripped of their qualified immunity. That none of that appears at all whatsoever in this LJ World article. What they want to do is saying that is they want to say, oh, look at these guys, these crazy guys. They got their lawsuits are all baseless. Look how silly it is. The judge is even saying it's not likely to succeed. Oh, what's this? It's going forward on retaliation and viewpoint discrimination. Oh, never mind that part of it. Let's look at how stupid and silly it looks. These guys really are just coming in here yelling. They don't even have a fucking case. And
that's the narrative that they're trying to spin. And you see more of it right here. I believe and this is Kimball talking at the bottom of this article. I believe the purpose of what they're doing is solely to disrupt the meeting and not for any legitimate public discourse. That's what Shannon Kimball said. Now I want to show you something here, guys, because when I put up these emails a minute ago, Shannon Kimball is copied on this email, and we can go back to previous emails.
So she knows that that's not the reason why you're there.
So there's Shannon Kimball when I announced my intent to be at this meeting and the reason that I was going to be there. And this was after they had shut you down when you said that their policies were bullshit. And so for her to act like in this news article that I have no legitimate public discourse, she's lying. She's lying by saying that. I have sent her evidence of what my legitimate public discourse is about. And as soon as and I'm getting a little fired up about this because the way they lie. But you go to this very last email. Again, this is where I said, guys, it's really simple. 3 minutes. If you can't handle 3 minutes, you should have never ran from office. And the next thing I said, at the point that your board can do that on a consistent basis, I'll have other things to do. Understand? I've told them a number of times, Justin, I don't have kids in the district. I don't have a reason to be there other than the fact that they're ignoring the Constitution, and I'm not going to fucking put up with it.
Well, it's a total gaslight. So Shannon Kimball knows that what she's saying right there is not true, but she's going to say it anyways to convince the readers otherwise. And just imagine if LJ World was worth a shit, and if Lawhorn's listening to this, I mean, just imagine if you were worth a shit as a journalist, and you took that quote back to me and Michael before publishing and said, "Hey, Shannon Kimball says that you guys are only here to disrupt the
No.
meeting. You really
I would have
did.
given him the emails. I would have easily given him these emails I'm putting up on the screen right now.
What's your response to that? Do you have a comment on that? And what would we say? We'd say she's lying. She doesn't
Look at the
know.
emails. Here's the evidence, just
Yep.
as we always do. Here's the evidence.
Here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. And they also removed another speaker, a female speaker, for reading sexually graphic books that are in the libraries there in the school district. So that right there is a legitimate purpose. She's letting people know that these books are in there, Shannon Kimball. That's a legitimate fucking purpose.
Well, and Carrie's here, and she's got a good point that she thinks they treat women and men differently. You know, this is Carrie, who came into the meeting this past week and read that book. And yeah, I do think they treat men and women differently, because they were sure quick to shut us down, but not a one of them made a peep while she was talking.
Well, and not only the talking. Look at the difference between you go up there and you move the podium off to the side, and fucking Kelly Jones has a complete meltdown and talks to you like a child, and then Carrie goes up there and moves it back, and it's
right.
All of a sudden, no problem. Yeah, go ahead, move it around if you want. Yeah, what rule? That rule we're talking about earlier? Oh man, that don't apply to you.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make right there. Is when they say up here that I'm telling them to shut up. That was when I told Kelly to shut up. Was when she started talking to me like a bitch.
Yeah, talking to you like a child.
And if they would just let us go up there for the 3 minutes and speak, Carrie, you are a protected class, son.
Well, they're in liberal feministville, Lawrenceville, there, where women do no wrong. They're the girl bosses there. They got to look out for each other.
Man, I'm not even going to go there. This article, though, and they go into all the past.
Just think about it. Look at the pictures up at the front of the page. It's me and you, and then who has issues with this? The 4 fucking females, or the 3.
Right.
And then you could also throw Lisa Larson in there, and Courtney Shipley, and fucking Shannon Reed, and fucking Karen Wiley. It's all fucking women leadership there.
And what they've done here is they've taken an issue at the school board that's an obvious constitutional issue that people can recognize, and they've expanded into this. Is it us against the women? Is that what they're trying to make it?
It's the victimhood shit. Yeah, it's the victimhood shit. And it's all women. I mean, just look at it. You got, and then my library lawsuits is a gaggle of women, library women, standing around saying I can't go in there because they're so fucking emotional. They have thin skin. And they have this kind of desire and that everyone needs to get along, and instead of actually, men can go in there and challenge things and say things the way they are. It's a totally different mindset. And they get so reactive and emotional over it. And what you get is fucking Kelly Jones fucking wagging her finger in your face like she's your fucking mom. It's like,
right.
You're an elected official. Don't wag your finger in my face. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Well, and I was talking earlier with somebody, and I was mentioning that our founding fathers, they did not envision a public comment period where you weren't allowed to say certain things. They expected people to hold their government accountable, and that's the way they wrote the documents, was so that the people could hold their government accountable. Absolutely. And what's happening here is these pseudo politicians up there are using these decorum rules that they call them to try to silence what has always been and always will be free speech until they can get the Constitution amended. And I don't see them doing it.
No, and I don't understand why people are so adamant that we're wrong by cussing or not acting or not talking in the way that they think that we should be talking in there. There's some sort of like, oh, you have to be civil and respectful to these public servants. Well, they haven't been civil and respectful to me. So why in the world do I have to then be civil and respectful to them? I mean, just think about it. This is just one example. It's Ann Costello calling me crazy. Well, I still got to be fucking nice and respectful to her now? Right. I mean, she fucking did that. I've never even talked to her before. I've never seen her before. And she called me that for no reason at all. Go back to COVID. I had a serious problem with the way that they intervened in my life. I got to go in there and be what? Civil and respectful? Because why? What says that? They can be however they want to me, but I got to be fucking nice to them? Why?
Yep. And see, another thing that they always draw back to is efficiency. And in this paragraph that Kimball points out, though, as has many a judge, that a government business meeting is not the same setting as a public street corner, and that reasonable rules of decorum can be enforced in a limited public forums to ensure the business of the governing body is conducted efficiently.
She's wrong.
Now, okay, but these rules are right in the normal conduct of their business. But when they open up public comment, they have 3 minutes, and it's set aside for that person for 3 minutes. And the only way to conduct that board meeting efficiently is to respect that 3 minutes and not interrupt it.
Right.
Any interruption from the dais is interrupting the efficiency of that board. Because had they not interrupted me, and there's video that proves this. Had they not interrupted me, I would have said my 3 minutes and walked away. And as you saw, when their timer, I gave them 34 seconds on their timer back.
Yeah.
I'm not about trying to violate my time, but I'm damn sure going to get my time. You're not going to take it away from me.
And that's a point entirely missed and lost on LJ World. They don't see that at all. They see that the disruption is coming from you, not from them. And Shannon Kimball is wrong on that because she's taken two separate issues and incorrectly trying to weave them together so that the idiot, uninformed reader doesn't know better. And they go, oh, yeah, I guess there are decorum rules for the way we speak. It's like, like you just pointed out there, those decorum rules are for the meeting
itself.
Outside of the 3 minutes. Because I'm telling you, for those that haven't gone to a meeting, you're not allowed to go in there and just talk because you're at the meeting. You're not allowed to. You sit there and you listen to.
Dude, if you're moving around too much and if your camera disturbs them too much, they can call out a disruption and get you out of there.
You have to sit there and be quiet and listen to the meeting and observe it. You're observing the government process. But once they invite you to speak, that's your time to now speak. There's no decorum rule that would say, okay, now you're disrupting our meeting because you're saying fucking mean things to us. Like, what are you talking about? Whether I say nice things or mean things, those 3 minutes are going to go by no matter what, man. I mean, it doesn't, there's no logic behind how that disrupts a meeting.
Right. Now here again,
it might hurt their feelings. It might embarrass them. They might not like it, but it's not a disruption.
Yep. And Kimball, again, goes into the whole thing about the decorum rules, and she talks about giving testimony at the State House. And for those...
on that, too.
Well, for those that aren't educated about how that kind of stuff works, testimony at a State House is a lot different than public comment at an open board meeting.
She's taking two things and trying to put them together.
Exactly.
Either she's that stupid herself, or also she thinks that the people reading are that stupid as well to not know the difference, which a lot of them probably don't.
Yeah. And so it goes down here and it says, because Jones had no assistance in enforcing the board's rules, Irby, taking control of the meeting, told her, now, I didn't ever have control of the meeting. Kelly always had control of the meeting. Yep. She just can't control what I say.
But that raises an issue too, because once the board they stopped you from speaking, and then they voted to move speaking to the end of the meeting, and then they voted to move it back to where it was. But once they moved it back and they gave you your time back, Kelly Jones gets up and leaves, and so then that leads to the question of, well, who's running the meeting? Like right now, if the board needed to take a recess or needed to do something, the president running the fucking meeting is out of the room. Who's in charge? Who's in control of the meeting? Again, it's nobody raises that issue. There's no concern. Like, seriously, you started cussing. Nobody there could stop you because they're not running the fucking show. Who's actually
this article
meeting when the president leaves the fucking room?
They talk about fear and hostility and threatening and harassing behavior. And they're equating all this to speech. And that's, I mean, I'm going to drop off this article. I want to bring up their Facebook page. What do you say?
Yeah.
Because they finally got this article out on Facebook, and the comments are kind of interesting. And I don't think everybody's buying their bullshit.
I agree. And that's a good thing to see.
So this is the same article, basically. It came out yesterday, but it's being posted on Facebook today. And so we go down. We wanted to go through these comments because it's just interesting the two sides of this, and they're pretty polarized. Do what?
This first comment here is a very lame argument. It's actually not even an argument. It says just ban the two performers. I mean, that's the most un-American thing you can say. But then he says freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it's exactly what it means. Now, people like to say that within the context
There
of
can't
like
be a consequence to if it's free speech.
well, like they say, like, oh, you're free to say it, but you might get canceled. Well, we're not talking about like private citizens doing something to us. We're talking about the government cannot do consequences for you on your free speech, because if they do that, you no longer have free speech. And the reason why you no longer have free speech is because you're not going to say the thing that got you consequences. Right. People that are observing aren't going to say the same thing because it's consequences. It's not free speech. That's chilling speech. I mean, this Alex Landazuri is a complete moron. He's an un-American moron. In here
and right away corrects him. When the board opens a meeting up for public comment, they cannot lawfully censor or ban or punish speakers based on the content of their speech. It's that simple. And Alex comes back and says they sure can. There's plenty of ways to do it.
Well, then
there's plenty of ways they've been doing it, and they've been trying to do it. And one of the examples was your arrest at the county meeting, and how that had to be backtracked and dropped by the DA. Was they arrested you for basically saying you were disrupting the meeting,
right?
And they try to create a situation where a law applies, but when it doesn't, and when it's constitutionally protected activity, it can't be criminalized.
But even go back to that comment. But even that Alex there, where he says they can and should set rules on what is appropriate. So even that one word appropriate, including that in there, is in itself viewpoint discrimination,
right?
Because then it's like
appropriate is subjective.
Right. If they do say, well, it's not only subjective, but it's also saying that you can only be appropriate in here. You can only say appropriate things to us. And so what he's saying there is that they can set rules, and in setting those rules, the requirement would be that you have to act, you have to say certain things in a certain manner to them. You have to be appropriate to them. And so then he says, there are plenty of ways to do it. Well, Alex, then explain it to us. Why did you just stop your sentence right there? Go on. I mean, this isn't Twitter. You're not limited. Let us know.
That was 3 hours ago. I haven't seen much less.
Let us know. He makes it sound like he's like some constitutional lawyer, but can't even be bothered to explain how they could go about doing that and not be unconstitutional.
And Joni Hernley needs to let us know where in Robert's rules it says that when a public speaker is speaking that their speech can be limited based on the content of their speech.
Exactly, it doesn't. And not only that, she would need to tell us, does the school board even operate under? Not that it matters, but they're not even operating under the Roberts rules.
Most of them claim they don't.
And Robert's rules wouldn't fucking override the Constitution anyway.
Exactly.
And even if it did, and they tried to cite towards Robert rules to limit our speech, the Constitution will slap that shit down in a second, man.
And here's a person that I have to respect. They don't approve of what we're saying. Christine doesn't, and I can respect that. But she's saying that you can't silence it. She's understanding that the Constitution covers this, and it's free speech.
Yep, exactly.
And Thomas has to try to tell her, no, you can't.
Yeah, he says, no, we can't ask them to sit there and take that. You don't have the right to do that. There has to be a way to enforce basic decorum without shutting down public comment. Yeah, the way, Thomas, is to just let the speaker speak, man. I mean, that's how you get it without being shut down, man.
Well, and there's a reason, they say then have them arrested. Well, again, there's a reason that we weren't arrested, And here, Jeff Fry, a little bit personal there between the two of them, but his approach is not ideal. But for an alleged progressive city, suppression of speech is becoming normal. I mean, what happened to Lawrence being the liberal progressive bastion of freedom and expression?
Well, that's what's been the damnedest thing about it, is seeing these liberals be such bootlickers for their government. It's so Oh man, it's just weird to see these people act like that, where they're like begging, please restrict our speech because we're on your side. We're on your side. You don't have to sit there and take this stuff from you guys. You guys are so good. You guys are
Right.
so dang good at your jobs that you don't deserve to be criticized at all in a rude manner. The bootlicking, you'd expect that from like conservatives with the police, but you're seeing it with liberals and their local government, and from a liberal newspaper like LJ World to be such bootlickers over their government is fucking disgusting to see.
Well, and Michelle comes in. The police said they couldn't arrest him, and she did have the right meeting there. And she comments about how the qualified people will stop running for the school board if they have to put up with this. Now, I would challenge that, because if those people were up there were fully qualified for the positions that they hold, they would have allowed me to speak for my 3 minutes, and I would have been gone, and there wouldn't have been no interruption. So, I mean,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Having a more qualified person is kind of the need right now. I don't think it, and I'd like to see a qualified politician. I'll give you an example. I haven't been at a couple city meetings here recently. Part of the reason I haven't been there is because we've got a mayor that runs a tight meeting and doesn't try to violate people's rights. It's, I don't have a whole lot to say on city issues right now. They're going through the budget and they're not going to listen to me about that. But I don't have to worry about Mike Dever violating rights. So I don't necessarily have to be there to call them out when they do it. This school board is a problem because they continually violate people's rights. And I'm surprised that many of these online commenters, I wonder how many school board meetings they actually watch. Or is this the only one they watched because the Lawrence Journal World brought it to their attention that there's this disruptor there?
Probably none, because look at her last sentence there. She says, no one who agrees to be on the school board should be subjected to this. Well, let's talk about what exactly they're being subjected to. I said the word bullshit. I said the word fuck, and Ann Costello called me crazy. What exactly are they being subjected to that's so bad? Nobody's going after them. Kelly Jones started that interaction by saying to you, "Don't come up to the board while you're speaking," as if that's something that you had done in the past during the meeting. Right. They're not being subjected to anything but some words and a few cuss words. They're not being fucking berated. Nobody was calling them names until they started calling me a fucking name.
Well, and Chris calls it out. It's okay for a board member to call a member of the public crazy.
Exactly. They've still not apologized for that. They've still taken no ownership of it. They've still admitted nothing. They've done nothing wrong about it. They're completely fine about it. But yet they're going to sit there and play the victim and say, "Oh, we're being bullied. These two guys are bullying us during their 3 minutes. Not outside the meeting, not after the meeting in our car. No. During the 3 minutes, they're bullying us."
Yeah,
we called them a name as well. Oh, don't worry about that part of it. That's not bullying. What they're doing is bullying.
Well, I love this. So here's their solution, and this is small town Lawrence. The old school solution right here is, if there's an issue with our cops, then the school board needs to meet with the head of the police and get him in line. God damn it, he needs to do what we tell him to do. Right, and then goes right into a non-existent code.
Right. Yeah. Disturbing the public. Yeah.
What is disturbing the public? I'm sure there's people that are disturbed that we're having this conversation right now. Do I need to worry about the police kicking in my door?
Yeah. Well, there's disorderly conduct, and then there's disrupting public business. So he's missing the mark on that. But we've already said to them, hey, if what we are truly doing is a crime, then fucking charge it. Charge it. And not only that, because they could charge the disrupting, if they could charge the disrupting a public meeting, they could then trespass you as well. The reason why they can't trespass you is because, like we were talking about earlier, if there's no underlying crime, they can't just say you're trespassed because it's a public building.
See, so, right here.
Thankfully, these people that are calling for us to be banned, thankfully, constitutionally protected activities can't get you trespassed. So that's like saying, you go in there, you speak your mind, and the government says, "Oh, I don't like that. Trespass, you're out of here." Thankfully, we don't live in a society where that happens.
Well, and look here though, this person is surprised. This is Michelle again. She's surprised that the police could or would not do anything. And she says one of the meetings she went to, the people were disruptive and almost immediately escorted out. It was not during public comment.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure what the difference is. Well, then why are you chiming in here saying that we should have been removed?
So confidently ignorant. Sometimes I envy people that are like that. So just so oblivious to how ignorant they are and so confident about it. And then they admit, like, you know what? I actually don't know the difference of them, but I saw it fucking happen, and those guys need to be out of there, you know?
And, you know, Cheyenne here is actually right. Freedom of speech doesn't mean everyone is allowed to be abusive and disruptive anywhere, anytime. Cheyenne, you're exactly right. But the problem is our words are protected during that 3 minutes inside that room, and there was no disruption or abuse happening.
We agree that if we were sitting in the meeting and something, for example, like what Ann Costello did, where she didn't have the floor and wasn't supposed to be speaking and just chimes in and calls me crazy Justin Speece. Yeah, that's abusive and disruptive language that shouldn't have taken place because she didn't have the floor.
Right. Same thing. You know, shouldn't the board members have to follow the same decorum rules? That's what Chris brings right back.
Yep. Right. Yeah. And the president of the board did nothing at all. It was like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, this Bob Forer guy, he's kind of a troll. He hangs around on my channel, and
yeah, I saw. It's like he said, like narcissistic rages. What does that mean, Bob? Can you define narcissistic rage for us?
Yeah, Ed tried to educate him, but I don't know that it's helping. But yeah, he's ignorant. Ed calls it. They're ignorant about what our constitutional rights are in that room, and they've had plenty of time to get educated on it.
Well, go back up to it. I think it's worth repeating where he says, let me help the LJ world and the board understand the decorum rules apply until the board opens the meeting up for public comment. When they open for public comment, they create a designated public forum, which is governed by the same rules that apply in traditional public forum, which flies in the face of what Shannon Kimball was saying about it being different than a street corner. And so that's what you would consider a traditional public forum. And so he says that is strict scrutiny, which is the level of scrutiny that the Supreme Court would use to decide if the government has violated protected speech. Right. And so he says this makes it an unconstitutional infringement on free speech and expression when the board censors or punishes speakers based on the content of their speech. The board cannot censor or bar speech because they find it offensive or annoying. At the end of the public comment section, the board can return to enforcing the rules of decorum.
Exactly.
The USD 497 should hire that guy as their attorney. I mean, that's it right there, guys. That's in LJ World. Take a fucking piece of advice right there. That's what you.
That's probably the best way I've ever seen it just laid out like that.
Yep. Me too. It's really good.
And yeah, there's links to the meeting. You can go check them out at the USD school board. But this was my video that they linked up there.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Either go F yourselves for making our city worse. Gotcha. Thanks, John. Why can't they just ban these 3 nut jobs? Well, there's a reason they can't, Landon. It's called the Constitution.
And then look at this. Look at what he says there. Because they use litigation as an instrument of terror. No, actually, the litigation is the one tool that citizens have at their disposal. In fact, it's such a good tool. It's such a non-terrorist thing. It's such a good tool that the government recognizes that it would be an obstacle for citizens to sue their government if they didn't have the money to do it. So they use it as a USC 1983 lawsuit where you can get refunded on it because they recognize that if every citizen had to pay for rights violations from their government, the government wouldn't be getting sued. So not only are we not terrorists doing this, we are using the one thing that is available to us to fight back, other than our voices inside those meetings.
And I'm going to insert that the idea that I am using litigation as an instrument of terror. Do you realize if I was actually after litigation and I was after solid, why would I be telling these people what I'm doing? Why would I be telling them I'm going to come in? You need to let me speak. It's unconstitutional. No. I would just go in, let them violate my rights, and then call up the lawyer and have it filed.
I mean, there's times straight up that you in that meeting, and also I'm thinking back when I was at Jackson County as well, telling them straight up, you're gonna be sued. I mean, we're letting them know you need to stop what you're doing because you're gonna be sued.
Right.
This is your chance to correct fucking course right now. You know what I mean?
And seriously, if I was after a lawsuit, that would be the stupidest thing I could be doing, is going in there telling them to correct themselves before I get my lawsuit filed.
Well, and it'd be such a stupid, risky thing, because you could have got arrested there, man. There's no fucking guarantee you weren't going to get arrested there, the way these cops are, man.
Right. And I don't know why these two back and forth. Landon, you're surely not a lawyer.
No, you're not. You're one of the most clueless commenters.
But here's Ed that chimes in again. They can ban them. Sure, they can do it. Then they'd be sued and lose. I mean, you can't lawfully ban people from a public meeting simply because you don't like or are offended by the content of their speech, especially when the board is the one who opens the meeting up for public comment and invited the speech.
Right. Yeah.
And so, he articulates this stuff so on a dime.
He does. It's a smackdown, and it shows the contrast, the difference with the liberals in Lawrence, where they just see that and they go re, and they freak out. They say ban them. We don't like what they're saying. Just ban them. And he comes in with just common sense and logic and says, "Hey, you could do that, but that's fucking called unlawful because we have the First Amendment. You dipshits. Yeah. These people are invited in to speak. You're invited in to speak. Do you want to be banned? Do you want to be banned if you go in and you speak and they don't like what you're saying? Is that what you're really advocating for there, Landon? That you want everyone to be banned if their speech isn't what you like or what the authorities like? You got to be shitting me.
Yeah, I like Yellowstone, but I don't know if this is worthy of the train station yet there, Doug.
What does that mean?
When in Yellowstone, in the TV show, when people get taken to the train station, that means they just kind of disappear.
Oh, they're saying that take you to the train station?
Yeah.
These people, man, they're just unhinged, man. Fucking unhinged. Like the problem lies with the government, but they've allowed LJ World and propaganda to manipulate them, and that they're just hating us and siding with their own government that's silencing the citizens. Right.
Tax says it. It must be true. The newspaper showed me.
Right. Yeah. No critical thinking whatsoever. I mean, you made a great point earlier, and I was thinking about that too, is that, wouldn't a logical reader of the paper be like, well, hey, hold on a second. Why aren't these two guys interviewed as well? Or why isn't LJ World saying we reached out to them, but they declined to comment? I mean, they're
right.
They don't even stop to think like they're getting a one-sided story. It doesn't even cross their minds.
Well, and it's not like we're locked up in jail and the Lawrence Journal World can't access it, and the readers
got my email. I emailed them. They got my email. Fuck.
I've emailed Chad several times and told him how crappy their reporting is. And this the gal here, what's her name, that writes all these stories on us lately?
Kim Callahan and Josie Smith or whatever.
Emailed them, let them know too.
Yeah,
but
because students may be
the whole thing about what I kind of want to look at this again, because people need to understand where these violations transpired and how they transpired. And I think it all starts when they open public comment.
Public schools.
And that's what's happening
president
right
or
here.
Presiding officer will invite comments on topics not included on the meeting agenda at the beginning of each meeting. Comments relating to agenda items are welcome after the board has had an opportunity to discuss the topic. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, I think we have a comment online.
Now, see, they've opened public comment, they've laid out, and they even go through this whole disclaimer that the board is not responsible for comments made by the public speakers. We're not going to engage or answer questions. This is just the public's time to address us. And they go in through all the different things, complaints that you're not supposed to be making or anything. And some of these boards, if you don't want to be talking about specific students and teachers, I kind of get that from time to time. But
but the thing about it, though, that has to be enforced equally, so that they will allow teachers and students to go in there and parents to mention students and teachers in a positive context. But if somebody like me mentions even remotely somebody, then they shut it down. So they have to allow it or not allow it.
Well, I wonder how they're going to deal with parents that are upset about a specific teacher next week. We'll see.
Well, so what they do is they'll say, well, we have that's a complaint and we have a specific complaint policy, but that in itself is viewpoint discrimination. You can't weed out complaints, because what ends up happening then is somebody watching from the outside only sees positive things. So they're only allowing one viewpoint in there, which would be non-complaints. And so let's say somebody's like, I'm thinking about moving my kids into the district. I'm going to check out a meeting and see what it's like. And then they go, oh man, this all great stuff here. Never mind the fact that there's a child rapist teacher in the school district that can't be mentioned because of their complaint policy. Right. So you wouldn't know about it. There's no way.
How do you know, how is it that you're deeming that I'm making a complaint? Maybe I don't want to make an official complaint. I just want to come in here and talk about it.
It's gaslighting. And I'll tell you, it happened to me because like I said earlier, I mentioned at that one meeting, as part of the lawsuit, I mentioned the superintendent's salary, and they right away said, you're not allowed to have complaints on staff. But I could have been like, oh, I think that's a great, and I think it's a great number that he should get. I think it's a great pay for him. In fact, let's give him a raise. I could have been going on the route to say that, but they stopped me. They made a split-second snap decision based on their discrimination and retaliation that I was making a complaint so they could shut me down. And they did the same thing to Carrie when she was reading the sexually graphic book. They said, oh, if you're making a complaint, we have a complaint process. And you can hear her advocating for herself. She's like, I'm not making a complaint. I'm trying to bring this to your guys' attention. You might be trying, she doesn't say this, but you might be trying to gaslight me here and say that I'm making a complaint, but I am telling you, I'm not making a complaint, but they determined that she was.
Well, that's what they need it to be so that they can silence her.
So they could silence her. Yep. They didn't go the route of, foul language, because they knew that was in their book. So they went with that's a complaint. Sorry, you got to stop. We're not going to allow that. You got to stop. Right. And again, that's viewpoint discrimination, not allowing a complaint.
Yeah, and now the first part of this, what you're going to hear is when Justin comes in, and I pointed this out when we talked about this before, that there was this incredible delay, and you're going to hear Kelly Jones say something to him. If you can hear us, you're on mute, and you'll hear that same thing again almost a minute later, and that's the delay time that they had trying to build into this and messing up with the online structure of the meetings. They used to just be able to bring people in right away and back and forth, and this is how they're doing it now. And not only that, but this is kind of crazy. They take, I think I figured it up, it goes until about a minute 43 or 44 before they actually figure out how to get you on the screen. They have WebEx issues.
We'll pause it for a second.
I'm just going to silence it. We'll let it play out.
So they say, the words are what's important here, but so they say they recognize that there's a problem, and the WebEx tech is like, go ahead and do the in-person comment, and Kelly Jones is like, no, we'll wait. So that they wanted to go first. It was like their plan. But also at this meeting, they implemented this new policy that says you're only allowed to speak in person now and not online. And I'm online because I have a lifetime permanent ban from the school district right now as it stands. And so I'm not allowed to. So they send, I get the benefit and the privilege of speaking online. If you look at it as a benefit and a privilege, I look at it
and there's going to be more on that because that policy doesn't actually exist. I'll just tell people right now, I got most of the paperwork together to prove that already, but we'll be digging into that.
Well, and the way they implemented this policy as well is a violation of home rule. And so home rule is going to allow them.
Well, they claim that Kelly implemented it on her own unilaterally, and that's not the way that can happen.
They can't do it like that. They have to be able to, if they're going to make a change to their public comment like that affects their legislative ability, which this would be because it's impacting public comment. They have to put it on the agenda, and then they have to vote on it, and then they have to have public comment for it. Otherwise, what they're doing is they're going around the legislature. They themselves are now becoming their own unaccounted for legislature. They're not accounted to the state legislature that says what they have to do in order to effectively conduct their meetings when it comes to these legislative change processes.
Yep. I think they just about got it figured out. They're going to spend about a minute and a half going back and forth saying, Justin, can you hear me? No, I'm not muted. Justin, you're muted. No, I'm not muted.
Well, I can't hear a thing.
Justin, can you hear us?
On the other end, I can't hear a thing when I got my phone.
Well, and like I said last night, if you weren't in the room, you wouldn't have
Justin,
been able to
can you hear us?
recognize the delay and the other problems that inherently caused for you.
Right.
Justin, if you are speaking, you are muted.
And I don't control the mute. I don't have a mute function. The WebEx
Not on WebEx, right?
Right. So I couldn't press mute or unmute. It all comes from them on that side.
And
They
that's
turn
the
the gas
statement
light.
that you're going to hear.
You guys hear me?
Justin,
We
if
can.
you're speaking, you're muted. You're going to hear it again. And that'll be the length of the
Can you hear
delay.
me?
We can.
Yeah,
Go
can you hear
ahead.
me?
Yep,
Can you hear me?
we can. Justin, if you are speaking, you are muted.
Did you hear it? That's how long that delay was. And so that's what was causing the communication problems between you and her. And if you weren't in the actual room to hear that, you wouldn't have heard it.
I'm not muted. You guys are control. I'm not muted. We can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
There's a
Restart,
delay.
please.
Can you hear me?
That's your problem. You're trying to fuck around with the delay.
All right. My name is Dr. Justin Spees. At the last school board meeting, one of your school board members, Ann Costello, right before I started speaking during general public comment, called me crazy Justin Spees. You guys' policy here at the meeting say, please be respectful of the presenters, the board, and your fellow audience members as we discuss and deliberate the items on tonight's agenda. Comments or actions that are threatening or disrespectful of presenters, the board, or others in attendance, including use of foul language or any other behavior that is disruptive of the board meeting, will result in immediate removal from the meeting. So would you guys consider that disrespectful, have one of your board members call me crazy? If so, why wasn't she immediately removed from the meeting? Why do your guys' rules supposedly apply to us, but they don't apply to you guys? Furthermore, you guys have a non-discrimination statement that says Lawrence Public Schools, USD 497, is committed to maintaining a learning environment free from discrimination, insult, intimidation, or harassment for any reason. You guys say that her calling me crazy Justin Spees was an insult? And if it is, what kind of example are you guys setting to your students? You guys' precious policies there that say we can't be a certain way, but you guys freely can. You have no consequences whatsoever for doing it. I emailed all of you asking what kind of disciplinary action would be taken against her for saying that about me, and got no response about it at all whatsoever.
See, that right there, I have a problem with. You know, they're allowed to insult you. You email in asking what's going to be done about that and get no response whatsoever. You're not even worth responding to.
Not even worth. It's not a legitimate thing in their eyes. And I'm sitting here watching this and thinking back to that comment that said, "Oh, the school board doesn't need to be subjected to this." And I'm thinking to myself, what exactly are they being subjected to here? A spoonful of accountability, shoving it down their throat, saying, "What are you going to? This is your guys' policy. You're violating your own policy." They are the victims in this. They're getting subjected to what right now?
And now keep in mind, I haven't heard one cuss word. I haven't heard anybody defamed or abused or anything. I've heard questions being asked about the conduct of one of those board members during an open public meeting when she had an embarrassing hot mic moment that she apparently thinks is okay.
And keep in mind, I'm going in there to address that specifically right now. Contrary to what Shannon Kimball and the LJ World says, that I have no legitimate business to go in there. Yeah, I'm asking why your board member called me a name for no reason. That's a legitimate thing there, Shannon Kimball.
Exactly.
So do you guys think it's insulting and disrespectful to do that? If I were to call her crazy Ann Costello, would that be insulting? What about stupid Ann Costello? Or ugly Ann Costello?
And you saw Kelly look.
Yep.
She looked to the side when you said ugly. She thought that was a little too much.
Too much.
What about bitchy Ann Costello?
This is your warning.
Bitchy.
This is your warning.
Bitchy was enough.
And I didn't go in there. I didn't just, out of the blue start calling her names. If Ann Costello would not have fucking called me a name for no reason, this wouldn't be happening right now.
Right.
I didn't just get on a whim just one day be like, you know what, I'm going to go into the school board and just start calling them names. That's not what's going on here there, Kim Callahan. I'm not just randomly saying I'm going to go and just start cussing these guys out. It's like she called me a name. You didn't even mention it in your article. It's like it didn't even happen. And
but she goes back into the last 2 years of lawsuits and everything else about us, but can't even mention what happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Jones.
It's your warning.
Any problems with
Can you
that?
pause the
Now you keep talking because there's that delay, and you haven't heard her say that's your warning.
Well, it's because I can't hear anything. There's no sound coming through the WebEx in the other direction, so I'm basically just talking into my quiet phone.
Gotcha.
What I end up doing is on my laptop next to me, I got the YouTube, their live stream going, so I turn the volume up, and I'm like, oh shit, that's what they're fucking saying. You know,
I'm pausing your time. If you continue with any foul language, you will be stopped from participating because it's disruptive. It doesn't comply with the policy. Can we start the time back?
Why is that allowed now? I mean, I came in here a couple weeks ago and I talked about how your guys' policy is bullshit. And this
Justin, because your words are disruptive during your 3 minutes, she says.
Yeah, really. And so this is where LJ World gaslights and does disinformation and said that I was muted. It's like, no. This is where I'm removed from the meeting, you asshole.
Well, not quite yet. Not quite yet. You still
demonstrates how much bullshit it is.
Got it? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next.
Oh yeah,
speaker.
you were removed right there, weren't you?
Yep, right there. I'm gone.
Damn.
At 2.5 minutes into 3 minutes, I was removed, and they're lazy journalism there. They don't even bother to go back and see, was I removed, how much time was left, what exactly happened. That doesn't even concern them. He was muted. That's all. Just muted.
Well, and
that is okay.
EAI makes a good point, man. Define disruptive, especially during my 3 minutes. How can you define what is disruptive during that time? I mean, I would almost have to be in there making ear-piercing noise in order for it to be determined to be disruptive.
You have just a bullhorn with a siren on it going, you know, something like that. Well, you ask them when you go up there and you move the podium and she says you're being disruptive. You're like, how am I being disruptive? And all she can say is you're violating the policy.
Right.
Oh, really? The policy that says what? I got to stand at this makeshift podium here? Is that what the policy is now?
So, guys, she calls me up, and again, they've got the podium set up right up underneath these these 3 televisions that are mounted up on the ceiling. And regardless of the assumed risk of it falling down, however many people would see it as a risk or not, it's distracting to be put right up underneath that thing, number one. And number two, up until this moment, everybody has always addressed the board from the normal podium that's over by the staff at that corner desk over there.
It's on the left side of the screen off the camera. See that brown desk? There's 2 people seated there, and then connected to that off to the side is another wood podium. It's got a screen and a microphone. It's planted there. It doesn't move.
So what I want to know is, give me some kind of an idea of what was this about? What was the whole point of putting this podium out there like that and rigging up an extra mic and all that?
I don't know. How they did it? Point was
because I noticed that the other speaker that went up there used the normal place on the left side of the screen, but it's only the public commenters that are supposed to use that podium out there. It's like we're further segregated.
Really?
Yeah.
So one of the speakers there at the meeting, not a general public comment, but a presenter, they use the podium, huh?
Right. They use the podium that you can see down in the lower part here. You can see where the darker brown is.
You can see in the other video right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's right there is where they stand to address the body, and having this stand out here in the middle is just for the public commenters. So it's like they're being segregated away from the normal comment process.
Huh. Yeah.
Michael, you can come to the board. Just to be clear, make sure that you stay at the podium.
You got a safety hazard there that I'm not going to comply with. I'm not standing underneath that thing. I'm not standing underneath that thing. Because if it falls, it's me.
I'm going to ask for you to be removed.
Shut up.
See, she's already telling me she's going to kick me out of there. That's why I said shut up.
Man, I just want to say, Michael, and for people that are watching this, man, you did such a good job, man. You did such a good job advocating for yourself. It's not an easy thing to go in there and have a board full of authoritarians there staring you down, and it's you against basically everybody in there, and stand up for yourself and not back down. That's not fucking easy to do, man.
Well, these people,
people might look at
Crazy Ann Costello, why don't you chime in here? Don't start giving me directives, lady. The only reason you're acting that way is because of who I am. The way you're acting is bullshit. You just threw somebody out because they used a curse word. You guys need to grow some thicker skin, because if curse words hurt your feelings, that's pathetic. Because in your library, you've got books that describe in graphic detail the act of procreation. Did you know that? Shake your head. Yes, I knew that. Right, Kelly? Right, Kelly Jones? Your hatred for me just bleeds through. Because if I can't move from right here, what if I stood right here? Is that a problem for you?
Am I being disruptive?
Nope. I mean, how could you be?
What if I stood over here? Is this a problem?
The only business taking place right now is your 3 minutes of comment. No other board business is taking place to be disrupted right now.
Exactly.
So that is where we're doing.
How about if I came right over here?
So at this point,
am I breaking? How am I being disruptive? You keep interrupting me, and I'm during my 3 minutes.
I have paused the time where you can speak at the podium.
I'm not standing underneath that thing.
You will be seating. Are we clear?
No, Kelly, we're not clear, because you're being real bitchy toward me.
Okay, that's it.
And I'm not going
to.
No, I'm not going to sit down, because you can keep that time going. Start that timer back up, because
Now, that's where this is the time where she should have just let me finish my speaking and be out of there.
Yep. Because now this is all because you first said bullshit and got a warning, and then said bitchy, and then your time was done for saying bullshit and bitchy. You forfeit your God-given right for free speech because you said 2 no words.
Well, and I'll tell you the exact reason that I said those 2 words was because those were the 2 words that you used.
Yep.
And if they're going to throw you out for those words,
rights too.
They cut your WebEx and kick you out of there for using those words. And I'm not going to let them kick me out, because they shouldn't have been able to kick you out.
Right. Yep.
have 3 minutes, and you're not going to have anybody help me sit down, Kelly. Start that timer back up. I have 3 minutes.
Can you please assist him?
Start the timer back up. I have 3 minutes. Start the timer back up. I have 3 minutes. Start the timer back up, please. I have 3 minutes. You've stopped the time at 2:07.
Are you going to?
Please start the timer back up. Please start the timer back up. You've stopped at 2:07. I have 3 minutes. Start that timer back up, please. Start that timer back up. I have 3 minutes. Start that timer back up. You have to comply with the U.S. Constitution. Start.
And that's my whole point.
Yep.
She's trying to tell me that I have to comply with the policy, and I'm trying to tell her that her policy is repugnant to the Constitution, and we have a duty to stand up against it when that happens. And that goes back to what I said about the forefathers earlier. When they designed this stuff, they didn't design it to be just there and everybody will automatically just do it because it's there. It was designed to have the people have a mechanism to hold the government accountable. That way the people could force the government to adhere to those codes.
Right.
And what she's trying to do is take away the power of the people to be able to hold their government accountable. I announced to them, again, over and over and over, I announced to them what I was going to do. That's one email. There's another one. And then there's another one. These are after each meeting.
And
LJ
World's perfectly fine, perfectly content with them taking the power from the people. And a lot of the people that are perfectly fine with their power being taken away. Perfectly fine with it.
Well, and the thing, and this goes back to what we talked about before, was when Courtney Shipley did it and you told her, be careful, someday it'll happen to you. And sure enough, a year later it did. You know, some of these board members need to recognize that they may be in a position a year from now that they may get shut down at this board.
Well, and in situations you can't even conceive of right now, there could very well be something that comes down the pike that you're completely entirely unaware of right now, that you want to go and voice your opinion on, and it's an unpopular opinion. You can't even fathom it right now in this moment, but it could happen to you. And then when you go and do it, either you're not going to be able to because they've already removed public comment, or they're going to shut you down because you have this unpopular opinion that you just didn't think a year ago you would ever have. Well, here you are with it. You just never know. That, and the reason why I say that is because that's the way it was with COVID. Prior to COVID, I was probably like, yeah, I probably wouldn't fucking do that shit. I wouldn't go in and speak. And then when I felt like I needed to, and I thank God I had the right to go and do that, it became an issue because it was an unpopular fucking opinion. And here we are 4 years later still.
Right. Unpopular opinions have to go away because they make us feel uncomfortable.
3 minutes. Start that timer back up. Start that timer back up. Start that timer back up.
To sit down.
The charge is 215922. If you think you can stick it, go at it. You got.
And that is the actual case code, or the KSA on that, the statute 21-5922. It's disruption of public business in a public place. And the reason I said that was because she said I was disrupting the public meeting. And there's no way I can be disrupting the public meeting during my allotted time to speak.
It's that simple.
I got another minute there. You stop the time. I need the timer to start so I can finish my 3 minutes.
Are you going to finish it?
I need the timer to start so I can finish my 3 minutes.
Can you go to the podium?
I need the timer to start so I can finish my 3 minutes. It's that easy. Start the timer so I can finish my 3 minutes. Please. It's that easy. Start the timer so I can finish my 3 minutes. Start the timer, please. Start the timer. When the timer starts, start the timer, Kelly. We're at a standstill here. Your timer is at 2:07. Start the timer so I can finish my 3 minutes. Start the timer so I can finish my 3 minutes. You've interrupted my 3 minutes and stopped me at 2:07. Please let me finish my 3 minutes.
You sit down, please.
Let me finish my 3 minutes. Start the timer back up and let me finish my 3 minutes. You're violating the law right now. Start the timer back up and let me finish my 3 minutes.
Please sit down.
Kelly, you're violating the law right now. Start the timer back up and let me finish my 3 minutes. Please let me finish my 3 minutes.
Removing it from the building.
Are you guys?
Just sitting down is fine. You
Guys,
can say, and you can
guys,
hear what you have to say.
They have a violation here. Don't do this. I want my 3 minutes. Start the timer back up.
To comply with the policy.
Start the timer back up so I can finish my 3 minutes. There's no questions to answer. Start my timer back up so I can finish my 3 minutes. Start my timer.
She had just tried to get the cops involved right there. Will you have him leave the building and then would just sit down, and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Back up. They're not going to arrest me because they know I've not broken a law. Start the timer back up.
You are disrupting this.
No, I'm not, Kelly. You've disrupted it by stopping my timer. Start.
But it's that simple. Again, she keeps saying I've disrupted the meeting, and what really happened is she disrupted the public comment by stopping the timer. Had she never stopped that timer, I would have already been done and gone.
And so because of that, she's the one that disrupted the meeting. But you wouldn't know that from reading the article because they don't look at it from that perspective. She disrupted the meeting. That should be the main focus of the story. The story should be our local elected officials, not leaders. These aren't leaders like it says up there in any sense of the word. These are not leaders. These are elected officials are preventing the citizens from speaking is what the fucking actual story should be. But nope, it's spun and twisted to, oh, our leaders are being victimized and bullied by these guys that are saying mean things and holding the meeting hostage. They're disruptive.
Well, I mean, leaders are recessing their meetings and leaving the room, and one now says it's time to discuss whether public comment periods have become too disruptive.
Yeah, those are our leaders.
They've carried that narrative all the way to determining that comment periods are a disruption, period.
Yeah, they've already said what the facts are of it before you even get into the story. They're already telling their reader, here's what it is. It's too disruptive, guys. It's too disruptive. Right. The stuff they're saying in there crosses the lines. Too disruptive.
Yep.
Start my timer back up. Your policies are unconstitutional. Start my timer back up so I can finish my 3 minutes.
Madam President, could I ask if you would like to call for a recess?
I will expect my 2 minutes and 07 seconds back when you get back. I'm not leaving until I get my full 3 minutes, Kelly Jones. And they're not going to arrest me because I haven't broken a law. You gave me 3 minutes and you took it away.
I'm not asking me to arrest you. I'm asking you to sit down.
They're not going to do anything to me because I haven't broken a law, Kelly. You need to start my timer back up and let me finish my 3 minutes. That's your only choice here.
Michael.
That's your...
Yeah.
Just think how ridiculous that is. She's trying to enlist the police to make you sit down.
Sure.
So that's part of the role of the police now, is to make citizens sit down in a public space. Are you kidding
sure,
me?
because they're used to being able to get the police at this point to start criminalizing people. And I mean, you've been through it. I've been through it.
Well, I'm saying, like, to me, there's the difference between the police saying, "Police, can you remove him from the meeting?" but then also saying, "Hey, make him sit down." Like, what are we, dogs? It's like how LJ World wrote it. Like, you didn't obey the rules. Like, oh, really? The fucking rule to sit like a good boy? Are you kidding me? The fuck.
Right. Right.
There's no rule that says you got to go fucking sit down. Shut the fuck up with that.
Well, and besides that, I could go to the back of the room and stand anytime I wanted to. But the reality is I'm in my public comment speaking time, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. And just think if that would actually carried out. Let's say the two cops were like, "Okay, Kelly, we'll go make him sit down." They'd walk up there and grab you and force you to sit down. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Throw me in they would probably throw me in a chair like Robert got thrown in a chair down there.
Slam me down. Slam me down. Is that what you're wanting, Kelly? You're wanting them to go hands-on to force me to sit down? Is that what you're wanting, Kelly?
Right. I want to give a shout out to Robert down there in Elk County. He's in the Elk County jail. He's doing his 24 days. I hear he's getting out this coming Saturday. So he's on the downslope of it. But Robert, if you're watching, I hope you're doing okay, buddy. And we'll see you on the backside of that.
Yeah.
But so Kelly, and that was Shannon Kimball who rang in and decided that she was going to help Kelly out here and call the recess. And we'll see.
Those two are like girl power. They do everything together, like joined at a hip. Like, oh, I empathize with you, Kelly. Oh, I empathize with you too. Let's do it this way. Oh, it's like girls that got to go to the bathroom together.
Only choice. I'm sorry that you don't like it, but that's your only choice. Start the timer back up. Please. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Start that timer back up, guys, please.
And, according to the Lawrence Journal World article, you would have thought that I was calling them bitches and hoes and motherfuckers this whole way through.
And even if you were, it'd be all right. But
you would have thought I was. But listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling them, start my time back up. You're breaking the law. Start my time back up.
And saying please,
Please. Yeah.
2 minutes and 7 seconds and I'd be done. 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Start my timer, please.
Man, that disrupts.
We've already taken way too much time, Kelly. Start my timer back up. Please.
We're just way too disruptive for him, Doc.
Yeah, saying please, that's too much. You're not being civil. You're holding them hostage. You're the nicest hostage terrorist ever, man.
Well, for a disruptor.
Start my timer, please.
And all I want is my time. Just give me my time and I'll be done.
Yep.
But the Lawrence Journal World can't see that. They don't report any of this right here.
Nope, none of it. And now it's a power struggle. They're not going to back down because they can't be fucking wrong.
And this was all conglomerated that I held them hostage.
Yep.
My challenge to you is this. If you don't like the fucking words, we're constitutionally able to vocally express. Start my timer back up. You stop.
And see what happened. She started my time. So I started speaking. I had a prepared speech already written out. And I started reading it again. And 5 seconds later, it stopped again. And they're taking a recess.
For a cuss word.
For a cuss word. Because I said, if you don't like the fucking words that I'm constitutionally allowed to speak.
To 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Sitting down when you come back. Your time is done.
My time is not done. I will have 2 minutes and 2 seconds when I come back, and I'll have my own clock. Kelly Jones, you can't do this. This is unconstitutional as hell, and you guys all know it. I'll have my 2 minutes and 2 seconds back when they come back. Would you please time for me? Thank you. You guys might want to go back and help them understand what's happening here.
And see, nowhere during this time, even during this, was I raising hell, cussing with people, anything.
Matter of fact, you don't say anything. When I go to edit my video, I'm like, man, there's a whole minute, 15 seconds of
Maybe if we had Constitution class for the school board, we wouldn't have to hold it like this.
After you say this, nothing else gets said.
And anything else that I say after that is like that. It's like, hey, you guys, this is messed up. You got to do better.
The second recess, you do have commentary. You're saying you guys are not doing right. You're not doing right. You talk to the cops a little bit. But right here, you just stand here. You're just standing silently the whole time.
Raising hell. Look at all that cussing. My goodness, I'm such a disruptor.
You're not even giving out rhetorical, questions to anybody. You're just saying nothing.
What do you do? What do you do when a board is acting like this?
I don't know. What you did.
While we're waiting on things to happen here, the same thing happened down in Port St. Lucie with the armed fishermen and John Felix. They go into that meeting down there, and the same exact thing is what happens here. They take a recess, they try to move public comment and shut it down, and then they end up having to let the fucking people speak. Because they just have to. It's part of the Constitution of this country that when you open a public comment, you can't regulate the things that we say.
Nope.
And that's what this struggle is 100% about. And if the Lawrence Journal-World could understand that and pick up on it, if they would write a simple article, Constitutional Crisis at the School Board, this would be solved in a week.
Yeah, and the constitutional crisis is the government towards the citizens.
Right. Here they come.
No, you said nothing. You just stood there. You waited patiently. I mean, what a terrorist right there. Wow.
Right. I hadn't.
Time for a public comment. We're joining the meeting. And the time for public comment has ended.
I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds left, ma'am, and there's another person that came to speak.
We have another
point of order.
See, and they were perfectly fine doing that to me until I mentioned that they had another person that came to speak, and then we have another person?
Well, and so that would be prior restraint. So that person, they would take their rights away from them. Just they didn't get a chance to even speak at all. So they opened up the forum and then tried to shut it down. And then that person who's Carrie would be like, "Well, hold on a second. What the fuck? Why don't I get to speak? This is you invited public comment. Now you're just going to stop it?"
But at the same time, Carrie's turn is not there yet. I'm still have my 2 minutes and 2 seconds left that they've tried to take away from me.
And you got the same argument. Wait, hold on a second. You can just stop public comment now that you fucking started it? Are you kidding me? How do you get to do that?
You can't. And the Lawrence Journal-World should know that. And I'm expecting that they do. And they're just carrying the water for the authorities like they normally do.
Exactly. That's what they're doing, man. They're bootlickers. It's disgusting.
Point of order. You can't do this. You can't constitutionally do this. You can't just shut us down like this.
In person?
You can't do this.
Okay. Is Carrie Schmidt here?
Now they just.
I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds left. You can't kick me out. Public comment is not over, and I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds left. You've tried everything, Kelly. Just give me the 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and we're done. You've tried every illegal move here, Kelly. Give me 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Back up on the clock, and let's finish.
Okay, we're moving. I need a consultation about whether or not I can remove public comment. I'm going to call a
girl power
recess to make sure that I'm.
Well, yeah, because she's looking at Kimball the whole time. They're making eye contact and probably mouthing words between them.
Help me out there, fellow feminists, please.
Yeah.
Call your attorney. You're going to get sued over this one. I want my 2 minutes and 2 seconds back.
Madam President, would you like to call an additional recess?
Yeah, we have to call an additional recess.
Okay.
Just give me 2 minutes and 2 seconds, guys. This is absolutely childish and pathetic. Go join him, Crazy Ann Costello.
And notice the recess.
Go join him.
So, this would be an impromptu executive session. So they're all leaving and going to the back of the room, and they're talking about something that isn't on the agenda that they have a quorum for because there's enough board members there.
Right.
And they haven't announced what exactly they're going back there to do and what the purpose of them going back there and doing. And they're definitely not meeting in front of the public for the public to witness what they're doing. So now they're able to meet together as a group and make legislative decisions in the darkness?
No, they get to violate their own rules while they try to tell us that we have to follow them.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to do that, obviously.
No, not at all. This is a coma violation. Yeah. And you can see.
This is stupid.
There's the four. You have 4 board members there that leave and go join this.
Is dumb.
And the first time there was 5.
Look at the example you're setting for the students here. trying to shut one person down, you're going to go through this amount of crap.
So did they vote on something back there?
Pathetic.
What did they do?
Who knows?
Pathetic. Every one of you. You
There's
should
no
be
way
ashamed of
for
yourselves
us.
in this board, the way they're acting
There's
tonight.
no way to know. They can't do that. And it's different than an executive session where they give the reasoning and the duration. This is just, we're recessing, we're going to go talk about you back there and decide something, and that's it.
Yeah. And she even said she needs, we need a recess because I need to know if I can do whatever. You know?
So did they call their
And I do
attorney
appreciate
back
you
there or
two
what?
understanding the law finally and not moving to just arrest people because they say so.
Who else was involved in that discussion back
Maybe you
there?
guys should take a lead from LPD. They're figuring it.
Well, I don't know that they actually had an attorney there. And did they get one on the phone?
That's the thing.
We don't know.
So for people that might not know, for when they call executive sessions, there's certain things that, you don't just get to say executive session. There has to be specific things that are laid out by the Kansas Open Meetings Act. And so what they're doing right now is they're going and having an impromptu meeting behind closed doors and they didn't put a motion on there to do it or say, we'll be back in 10 minutes or for this purpose, or this is who we're going to talk to. They're just back there fucking talking.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. It's okay for them to do that though.
And LJ World, completely quiet about it.
Yeah, COMA violations don't matter to the LJ World as long as it's not a citizen doing something.
Right, exactly. This board can do no wrong at all. They're completely in the right on everything they do, including the teachers that they hire to sexually abuse students in their schools.
And God help them if they try to shut down people like this next week.
We'll see if anybody shows up.
Well, man, I hope they do. I'm so sick of going to meetings where nobody's there. So they don't know what happened, and all they do is read this crap in the Lawrence Journal World and then form an opinion based on the lies that the newspaper is carrying.
Yep. They're the lies and the least favorable light they could paint of us, and not even giving us an option to defend ourselves.
But look at the amount of time. I mean, we're now 18 minutes into public comment, and they've run you off in 2.5 minutes. I could have been gone in 3, so that would have been 5.5 minutes that we could have been done already. But now we're 18 minutes already.
Yep.
And this part here, I've had that sign that said this board is fucked up. I've been holding it up the whole
How
time.
come she doesn't try to shut me down for this? I've been holding this all night long.
And so that raises the question, then why is that okay?
Why is
but
that?
You can't say fuck.
Right. The written word's okay.
Written word's fine.
Why is that?
Spoken
I've been
word.
holding this all night long, but she hadn't tried to throw me out.
It's another no-no.
The written word is okay, but the vocal word isn't.
Make it make sense.
It's called a constitutional comparator, people.
Come on,
It
LJ
doesn't
World.
make sense.
LJ World,
That's
you
a problem.
constitutional scholars, you explain that to us.
Well, no, they don't need to be constitutional scholars to label us disruptors and terrorists and all this other stuff, holding people hostage. I'm a hostage taker now.
Yeah,
apparently.
Well, they take this air of being on that, knowing what's right and what's wrong. Well, come on, LJ World, chime in on us. Tell us why the written word of fuck is okay, but saying the word fuck is not okay. Let us know that, please, LJ World. Inform us.
And not only that, but a lot of them try to use the online portals policies as their governance. And, you may have a policy that a board has to adhere to with their online channel on YouTube, but that can't be used to infringe upon anybody's speech who comes before that board.
Nope. Nope. Not at all. Not at all. That falls outside of any kind of authority for being able to speak at a meeting.
Yeah, there's another 2 minutes gone, just waiting on them to figure out what they're going to do. And this is all time that the Lawrence Journal World claims that I'm holding them hostage.
Yep. And they don't report that they're having an illegal impromptu executive session back there away from the public's eyes. LJ World's okay with that. We got our government meeting in secret back there and not informing us during a public meeting. And LJ World is completely silent on that as well.
Right. Because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative. This board could not do anything wrong. It's just these two guys that came in here to cause all these problems, and that's all they came in to do.
Yep. And it's also LJ World, the reporters are so uninformed and so unaware of the rules.
Dude, they're not even in the room. Again, this time there was not a Lawrence Journal World reporter in the room.
Really? They
No.
weren't even in the room?
No, they were not in the room. They have not been in the room for the last 2 meetings. Lawrence Times has been.
Man, that talk about some arrogance there. You can chime in on a big ass story like that and you weren't even there and you don't even ask the two guys' opinion on it or side of it. Wow, they're taking quite a liberty there to report.
Well, that's what propaganda is. They don't need to be there to report propaganda for the man.
You know, that's interesting because they quote you when they say, when you said shut up, they put the exclamation point behind it.
Yeah.
That's
because they heard it online.
They heard it online. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is the kind of reporting we get. They're not even in the room, and they're going to label all this stuff, and then not even reach out to the two people that they're writing about, and they're going to do all kinds of comparators from years ago, but not talk about the same comparators from a month ago with these folks.
Which, you know, is also interesting. Remember a few months ago after we had that conversation with Chris Condi, who's a reporter at LJ World, and he totally exposed himself for not knowing a damn thing about the First Amendment. We were going to do a live stream about it, and we extended him the courtesy of reaching out to him and be like, hey, we're going to do a live stream. We're going to talk about our conversation we had. We'd like to invite you on here so you could be a part of it. We sure did. And he declined, which is fine. But we did that. We extended that courtesy to him to say, we're going to be talking about you. We want you to be here. But they won't even do that for us at all. Never. Yeah. Not once.
Now, this is important here because this is where I tell Ann Costello.
You guys can get them to threaten my arrest, I'll leave. If you can get them to threaten my arrest, I'll leave. If you can get one of those officers back there to tell me if I don't leave, I will be arrested, that's the point that I will leave. Otherwise, I'm getting my 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So if you can get one of them to put themselves on the line instead of you, that's the only way out.
That's exactly what it was.
It's the exact same thing that happened at the library in November and December, where the library was trying to get them to remove me for violating the policy, but they wouldn't remove me because it wasn't violating the Constitution.
Yep. All right. Here they come back from their second.
Well, the only legal way you're getting out of this.
Session there. Bob Byers couldn't even remember which was the right chair.
I believe we have.
Yes. Madam President, given that we have other agenda items to attend to this evening, that we need to get our business done, I make a motion that we amend our agenda and we move the public comment item to the end of our agenda for this evening.
And now again, this is Shannon Kimball, guys. Kelly's looking straight at her. Shannon's looking straight at Kelly.
And continue our public comment.
Unacceptable.
After we have completed item.
Point of order, you can't move it. It's already engaged. You've already started public comment. You can't stop public comment in the middle of it, guys. I have 2 minutes, 2 seconds on the clock.
We have a motion.
There's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is exactly what they did down at Port St. Lucie to the armed fishermen and John. They voted to move public comment.
Yeah.
And stop it. And well, they're going to have to backtrack on this.
You are a perfect example for people as to why you need to know your rights, because somebody that goes up there and doesn't know their rights, this board would have steamrolled them out of the way 20 minutes ago.
Sure.
You stood there and you recognized what was wrong, what was going on, and you stood your ground. Whereas everybody else that's civil and polite would have been like, okay, I guess I'm done. I'm going to go. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm actually sorry that I spoke wrong. I'm going to go sit down. This board would have steamrolled them, but you stood your ground, man.
And I watched Sean Paul Reyes at Douglas County District Court again today. That was a couple of years ago that he came around here, and the interaction that he had with Kurtzel, and Kurtzel's all threatening him and telling him, if you do this, I'm going to take you to jail, and this and that and the other. And then Sean stands his ground, knows his rights, and ends up everything's bullshit, and they all have to tuck their tails and go hide. And that's what happens when you do know your rights. You can actually hold these people accountable and put them in their place where they need to be.
Well, that's exactly why LPD isn't moving to arrest right now, because we've educated them through our time at the library of saying that this is constitutionally protected. You cannot go to arrest it. Well, our lawsuits as well have shown that as well.
Right.
But they're not acting because they now know that that would be a huge violation of your right.
Yep. So here.
Let's get that vote called out.
Let's get that vote.
I want to hear each one of you.
Could do Blackwood. Costello.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Gordon Ross.
Yes.
Now pay attention here, guys, because they screw this up.
Yes.
How many yeses?
Yes.
And Carol, is that you? Okay.
They
The
screwed
motion
up
passes
the
7-0.
delay.
Okay.
You didn't record all the votes.
I was going to say no.
Yes.
See, what they originally had there was they were trying to say that it was going to be a 7-0 or a 6-0 vote, or nobody opposed, because when Yolanda Franklin was supposed to vote, whoever was online, was that Cadu Blackwood, she yelled aye, and what's her name over here on the left recorded it as though it was Yolanda, and Yolanda had to throw her hand up and say, I didn't vote yes.
It has to do with that same delay. So when they called out Blackwood, then they called out Yolanda, and when Yolanda Franklin went up to speak, you can hear Cadu finally, the delay's coming through, and chimes in with yes, and they think that it's Franklin that said it because she's leaned into her microphone, and then afterwards she's like, hold on a second, I didn't actually say anything, that was the fucking online.
Right.
Yep.
And then they try to say that it's 6-0, and then she corrects them and says, no, I'm voting against it, which is, I want to commend Miss Franklin again for standing up for the Constitution. Even though she disagrees with what we're doing, she at least recognized that we do have the right to be there and do that.
Well, not only is it that she disagrees with us, but she also framed it, and the earlier article, not this one, but the one that was written days ago about this, she framed it as, again, that narrative, well, if they're gonna come in with abusive language, just let them. It's like, abusive language, really, lady?
But you know what, here's my thing. People are entitled to their opinions, and as long as her opinion isn't infringing upon my rights, man, no, it is. They're entitled to their opinions.
Well, they
but
are.
As long as they respect the Constitution and our rights, I've got no problem with their opinions.
No, I'm saying, like, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, but what she's saying is not factually correct. There was no abusive language. So it's more of just that spinning of the narrative of, yeah, these guys really are being abusive, but they're right to do it.
You're right. You got a point there. You are right. But I do still appreciate her voting no to not stop public comment, knowing that, I'm assuming that she's realizing that they can't really do that.
Well, and she also knows that they're getting to get sued, and that's going to, her vote's going to matter. She's going to be able to say, I didn't go along with that shit.
And guys, the easy way to not get sued is just fucking follow the law, man. Just follow the law. 3 minutes. It's not that hard. And we're not in there trying to create a lawsuit. That's not what we're trying to do. We're in there trying to get you to understand that if you just shut up for 3 minutes and let people come in there and speak, you're going to have a lot less headaches. You're going to have a huge amount of an efficiency increase in your board meeting overall if you quit interrupting people.
And one of the things I want to point out, when boards get sued, the charge on it is that they all have the ability to recognize when a constitutional violation is taking place, and they have the ability and the authority to intervene and chime in and say it and call it out. And when they don't, by either voting in favor of it or not saying anything at all, they are supporting this violation of a constitutional right. And so when they're not standing up for it, that's how they get sucked in. They get sucked into it. The entire board. They're all going.
And you know what's interesting is at the same time as they ignore that legitimate responsibility they have as board members, you and I and people like us, we take it on. If there's a constitutional violation, I feel like it's a duty to stand up against it, even though it may not be directly affecting me. I mean, there's been a number of times recently that the only reason I've been at meetings is because other people have been shut down.
Right.
And that's the whole reason we went to Jackson County. Is the whole reason, we got down to Elk County because of constitutional violations.
Yep.
And I don't know how hard that is to see,
right.
but we'll let them here. They're gonna recess here.
The motion passes 6-0.
Nope, this is where they.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
thank you for supporting the Constitution, Ms.
I'm
Franklin.
sorry, 6-1. Sorry.
The rest of you are going to get named in a lawsuit for this, because you cannot shut down public comment at 2 minutes and 2 seconds remaining.
Okay, we're going to move on
And
now
then
to
push her
board
back.
commentary. You need to sit down.
Are you guys going
Move on to
is
board
this,
commentary.
is this what you guys are going to allow?
Now this is the point. This is the point right here where I was unsure, but pretty sure, because okay, so at this point they have taken a vote now to move beyond public comment. And had I bought into the reality that vote, or not the reality, had I bought into their theory that vote does move away from public comment, then yeah, I might have been disrupting the meeting at this point. However, the problem is that they still technically have 2 minutes and 2 seconds on my clock.
Yep.
And it's important to note, I've never left from that spot. If I'd have gone back and sat down or moved away from that spot somehow, I can see how they probably could have tried to do something and play some fast and loose to get me out of there. But I had never left from that spot demanding my 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And at that point right there, I knew that they couldn't just move past the public comment like that. And so what they're doing right now, regardless of whatever happened past this, they've already committed the violation. So anything criminal that they come after me for at this point, I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney, but I'm pretty certain would have to be dropped as a violation of my overall right to be able to be there and speak during my 3 minutes.
Well, it's like I just said. That's why it's so important to know your rights, and you knew your rights, and you knew what they were doing was wrong, and you knew you were standing on solid legal ground and legal footing right there. What they were doing was unconstitutional, and they didn't have the authority to be doing that, and that's also why you didn't get arrested.
Well, and in the past, a year or two ago, I probably would have been.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even 6 or 8 months ago, I probably would have been.
Yep, this past fall even.
Yeah. But the police don't do it, and you're going to hear them explain it a little bit here.
Is this what you guys are going to do?
This is disrupting the meeting.
Is it disrupting the meeting?
Assistance so that we can continue with the business.
Am I
of the board.
disrupting the meeting, or did they disrupt public comment? It's for you to decide, because they're asking you to threaten my arrest at this point now. They have violated the law. And how do I get criminally trespassed when I've broken no law, sir? And how's that going to happen if I've broken no law?
So if we
continue, there, Michael.
Huh?
Can you tell us what he said?
What he said there was that if the person in charge, he can be trespassed if the person in charge tells him to leave and he refuses to leave. And that's where I asked, well, how can I be criminally trespassed if I've broken no law? And not only that, but how can I be criminally trespassed out of my 3 minutes of speaking time? This is the same exact thing that Bart Littlejohn attempted or did, and the board is attempting to do it. But Bart Littlejohn basically trespassed me from City Hall during my 3 minutes of public speaking time, and that's what they're attempting to try to get the police to do here.
Yep.
If he stands up here and continues to make, I just want to be really clear.
2 minutes and 2
If he stands
seconds.
up here and continues to just disrupt, and we cannot continue.
Continues to just disrupt. Again, she's labeling that I am continuing to just disrupt. Lady, if you give me my 2 minutes and 2 seconds, there's no disruption. You're the disruption at this point, because you've held that timer up now we're at 25 minutes and 37 seconds into public comment overall, yours and everybody's.
Yep.
And so she's held this up for 20 minutes at least.
And it's always, I think, important to draw the distinction. Like let's say there was some protester that was standing up there saying, down with Elon Musk, down with Elon Musk, all that, something like that, some cause, some free Palestine, free, that can get you out of there. You are standing there saying, I want my time back. You've wronged me. This is an entirely different situation. LJ World makes it out to be like you stood up in the middle of the meeting, we're like, down with Trump, down, or something like that. You know what I mean? You were just advocating for your time back after they fucked you.
And the framing of this, it's time to discuss whether public comment periods have become too disruptive. What that is what they're saying is, well, now that we can't get the police to just haul people out of here willy-nilly as we choose, we may not be able to take any public comments anymore, guys, because, oh my God, how could we handle hearing those people?
It's too disruptive. I mean, it's just so comical because I mean, just even think about it. Even if you were going in there and the entire time you're like, all right, your clock started and you started just shouting like, fuck you, motherfucker, fuck you, and did that for 3 minutes, that still would not be too disruptive, LJ World. That's still free fucking speech, like it or not.
And they act like the whole purpose is to go in there and scream cuss words. And that, again, the Lawrence Journal World has completely missed the whole point. I'm there. I'm using these words because they're illegally cutting other people off, and they're not going to be cutting people off. If nothing else, yes, I am using the word to instigate the conduct that they're doing to everybody else, because I know that if I use a cuss word, they're going to try to shut me out, which is illegal. I know this because they've announced it to everybody. So yes, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to test that. I'm going to say, no, you can't kick me out because I say fuck. And I just said fuck, and now try to kick me out for it.
I think every red-blooded American should see that and be like, and feel their DNA, their American DNA, and go, oh yeah, you're going to say I can't cuss? Watch this. I'm going to sign up now. That's in our spirit, right? Like, we didn't let the British tell us how to fucking live our lives. Now we got to listen to the school board tell us what the fuck to do with our voices.
Oh God, we're so far beyond not letting the British do things. God, if that was today, I mean, the king would still be in charge. I'm sorry.
Oh, for sure. If you had the Chad Lawhorn, thank God Chad Lawhorn wasn't one of the people around when the country was getting founded. We'd never have gotten anywhere. We would have been kissing all the way to the fucking end.
Back in the day, back in the 1770s, a newspaper that did the kind of things that Chad Lawhorn's doing, they had their shop burned down and they got tarred and feathered out. I mean, that stuff really happened back then. So he operates under a freedom now and a protection that everybody enjoys, but he's trying to take it away from other people.
Yep, because he doesn't like us.
Right.
The business of the board.
How can I be disrupting during my time to speak?
I guess my point is, you gave an opportunity to speak for 2 minutes, and I guess by whatever made you root on it.
What do you say there?
I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what they said, but he had talked about you've given him a time to speak there, 3 minutes, and things like that, basically saying that they had started the 3 minute clock and they needed to just stick to it.
Is that what he's saying? Good.
I don't know that he actually told them that they needed to stick to it.
But I heard him say the 2 minutes, so he was saying, hey, you only gave him 2 of the 3 minutes. Is that what he was saying?
Something like that. Yeah. But he was basically denying them the quote unquote support that Kelly was looking for in her illegal behavior here.
Yeah, I gathered that. Yeah.
But he is breaking our decorum rules, and the chair has the authority within the board meeting to enforce decorum rules. And
again, authority within the board meeting, not during public comment. If this was any other time during the board meeting and I was standing up there doing this, she could easily have me charged with 215922. Easily.
And it's the only distinction that matters in all of this. It's such a big distinction. It's the only distinction between decorum and disruption during the meeting and decorum and disruption during general public comment.
Exactly.
He's trying to do so.
Not
and
discriminatorily.
We are trying to figure out a solution to this where we can continue our board meeting while also respecting people's rights to have public participation. He has now taken up an extreme amount of time in this board meeting fighting with the chair over our decorum rules, which she is allowed to enforce. So we
fighting.
I haven't been fighting over the decorum rules. I don't care to fight over the decorum rules. I'm fighting over my 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
You're fighting for your rights, and she's trying to say you're fighting against their decorum rules. I mean, God, just a complete sleazeball lying lady right there.
Yeah, and that's Shannon Kimball doing that.
Shannon
by the way.
Kimball.
That's
Yeah.
not Kelly. Kelly's too flustered to speak. She's got her head down in her hands.
She's got her hand. You can hear her sighing repeatedly. Oh God, yeah, just a complete emotional wreck.
Let me.
Leader. That's a leader right there, guys.
Yeah. Let me just take a moment here. Kelly, if you're hold on, Kelly, if you're watching, hon, the easiest way to avoid these kind of very flustering moments for yourself is just to let us speak. Just let us speak, hon. It's that easy. Do you think she caught that?
What a concept.
Yeah, I know. What a concept. But I don't think she
really have a problem here, and I am asking.
Point of order. You can't reframe this. You can't reframe this.
Sit down and be quiet.
You can't reframe this that I have interrupted during my time, guys.
Because
I
you're
have
not following the decorum rules.
Guys, I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds. You can't just arbitrarily shut it down and shut me down that way. It's illegal.
Yeah, and
she's the only one that's yelled, and it's almost like she's taking on this like maternal kind of thing. Like she, I just think, if men were running the meeting, they'd maybe be more stern, maybe come down a little bit more firm, but to be like yelling like that and kind of just shrieking for you to sit down like that because you somehow triggered her, she's lost control of herself. She's not a leader.
Both of them are emotional wrecks over a few words, man.
They are, and not being able to control the situation like they think that they need to control people's words. I mean, it's a total fucking like mom thing. It's like you guys need to check yourselves. You are public officials. You're public servants. You asked us to come and speak. We're speaking to you. Now just sit there and listen.
Yeah, they've asked us. They've invited us to speak.
Right.
You're permitted to speak if you follow the decorum rules and you have.
I want my 2 minutes and 2 seconds back up on the screen.
It says
2 minutes and 2
Any
seconds.
assistance, I'm going to have a conversation with the board colleagues, and you can listen, Michael, okay, just for a moment. We do not have assistance from law enforcement. Michael is not going to sit down. I do want the board meeting to move on. I think Yolanda likely would too, based on vote. So I'd like the board to reconsider.
So Shannon Kimball there says, you're permitted to speak if you follow the decorum rules. That right there just lays bare the fact that it's not free speech. First of all, we're permitting you to speak. Really, you're permitting us? If. So the if is like a but. So as long as you do it this way, like I support free speech, but that's not allowed. Or you're permitted to speak if you do it this way. That's no longer free speech because now you have to do it their way.
Right. And see, Kelly is starting to realize now that this isn't going to end with them moving on or anything, and they don't have she's complaining here that they don't have the support of the police, and she's finally going to just let the meeting progress.
Well, she couldn't get the guys with the badges and the guns to come perform violence on you to get you out of there, so what else is she going to do?
Right, exactly.
I'm going to have a conversation with the board colleagues, and you can listen, Michael, okay, just for a moment. We do not have assistance from law enforcement. Michael is not going to sit down. I do want the board meeting to move on. I think Yolanda likely would too, based on vote. So I'd like the board to reconsider the motion to move to the end, the comment to the end of the meeting. And we will need to consider utilizing public comment in future meetings, which is likely, unlikely at this point.
But see, now she's going to tie future public comment to this event.
Yep.
And so I wonder how many people who read the Lawrence Journal World article and have now seen exactly what happened are going to stand by and let her move public comment.
I would hope that there's some. I don't have any faith that there is.
Well, I guess we're going to see. We're going to see a week from Monday. But she's getting them to backtrack, which is exactly what happened down in Port St. Lucie. They have to backtrack because they don't have legal standing to do what they're trying to do.
That backtracking there leads them right back to square one. And square one was, okay, you do have 2 more minutes. We should have just let you speak this whole time.
And we are at
it's hold on, real quick. It's also important to note that once your time ended, whether it was you ended it yourself or the 3 minutes, you no longer stood up there You no longer continue to talk. You return to your seat.
Right.
So the whole thing wasn't to like hold them hostage just for the sake of doing it. Once it was done properly, you followed the procedures of the meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could have been arrested for actually disrupting the meeting.
Yeah, you didn't try to stay up there and be like, all right, I'm going to keep doing this shit now. This is what I wanted to do. I'm wanting to hold you guys hostage. No, it was just so you could speak. It was that simple.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm asking, we have no assistance to get him to sit down or to otherwise move, so I'm asking the board to reconsider the motion that was on the table, just to get this to move along.
I'm fine with letting him speak.
If we move it to the end of the meeting, he has his two and a half minutes or to speak.
We have no assistance in enforcing our policy. We have been informed that we have no assistance enforcing the policy and that he will not be sitting down. He's informed us that he's going to continue to remain in the building. So if he will sit down after 2 minutes, that might be the best thing that we can.
I'm inclined as GR is just let him speak. Just let him speak.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
I need a motion.
I move to reopen public comment and move it back from the end of the meeting to current. I don't know if there's
Kelly's
anything
got
else.
her hands in her head again.
Move it to its current place in the agenda.
Poor Kelly, look at her over here,
She's
right in front of me.
She's overwhelmed and stressed.
It's just too much for her to listen to somebody speak at public comment, and that's why she shouldn't be the board president.
She's an emotional wreck. Yeah, I know. Look at that leader right there. That's a leader right there, guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Second.
Costello.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Gordon Ross.
Yep.
Jones.
Yes.
Kimball.
No.
Byers.
Yes.
Padu Blackwood. Padu Blackwood.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
I would like to.
I said yes. I'm sorry. Good.
I'm going to give you back your.
See, now Kelly is going to do the same thing. She's going to pull what's called an Amber Sellers here.
Yep.
And
But this is even more egregious because she is running the meeting. She's in charge of running the meeting. So if something were to come up where some sort of decision needed to be made, she's no longer in the meeting to be making any kind of decisions.
Right. She's abandoned her post is what that's. She's a committed AWOL, man. Absent with a belief.
That's a violation. She can't just do that. She can't just leave.
Well, sure she can. She's the president of all she foresees.
Well, she has a responsibility to run an effective meeting. And so it becomes interesting because once you get your time and she leaves, you start cussing again. Whereas before, when she was running the meeting, she sees that as enough to get somebody removed from a meeting. But now she's no longer in the meeting to enforce that same rule on a different speaker.
Mm-hmm. Well, she comes back, though.
Well, when you're done, yeah.
Yeah.
Time on the
2 minutes
clock.
and 2
I do not have
seconds.
to listen to you. I'm going to get up and leave, and then when you are done, I'm going to come back out.
You go.
Wah. Start my time. That's a whiny bitch move right there.
Hilarious.
The newspaper quoted that one.
Yeah, they did. That was hilarious.
But they don't say anything about the board president just abandoning her post.
See, the thing about it also is when they say you can't say words like, well, what just happened there was a whiny bitch move. Why can't you use those particular words to describe what just happened if that's really what just happened? So now I got to bend reality and not say whiny bitch move because I can't use those words. No, the reality was that it was a whiny bitch move.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? It's a whiny bitch move. That's what you call it, you know?
This is one of those it is what it is moments.
Right. And so now we got to not say that because we can't say those words. Get out of here. It's like when they say, like, you can't call them Nazis. Like, oh, really? Well, if you're being a Nazi, why the fuck can't I call you a Nazi?
Right. Right.
Who am I supposed to call you?
But aren't they calling Teslas like Nazi cars or something now?
Oh, I'm sure. Crazy.
I think everybody, yeah.
Now that you guys have all learned this fucking lesson, stop shutting people down. Give them their goddamn 3 minutes and shut your fucking mouths. They're allowed to come in here and talk. Trying to put somebody underneath a hazard like this is stupid. This podium should be either up here or off to the side or in the back. Trying to make somebody...
And see, I want to point out that they're not even away. They're just, you can see them hiding back there. If you look right underneath the TVs to the back area, you can see Shannon Kimball still there.
I know. It's like, I do not have to listen to you. Look at this defiant stand I'm going to take. And then she goes and listens to you.
Right. It's all a show, because it's not about her listening, because she can still hear me right there. If she didn't want to listen to me, she would have went in the back room and held something over her ears so she couldn't hear me.
Well, and it's also that sisterhood solidarity. Shannon Kimball's like, I'm with you, sister. I'm going with you. Look, girl, here we go.
It's production. It's production. Same as Amber Sellers was. It's production. Getting up and leaving to try to make some kind of a statement.
Yep.
And they blame me for trying to be production.
Stand underneath that is a risk, and I'm not going to take it for you dumbasses. And the fact that she verbally came at me before I had even a chance to speak laid your intent bare. And that one, Kimball, who voted no, how insane is that? You guys just got taught a lesson. And do you hear how I don't need to cuss now? Because you got taught the lesson. You got taught to shut up and just let the people speak. Next time Justin Spies is on your damn WebEx, just let him speak. When she comes up here...
See Kelly back there? She's not even trying to hide, man. She's coming back out.
To talk, just let her fucking speak. How hard is that? Really? Gordon, why do you hate so much? Is it because I asked you about the policy and you kind of threw the board under the bus? I want to see that policy that said we can't speak online anymore, because I assure you, you're going to long for the days that you could have relegated me to the online room. You can have your 30 seconds back. I really do appreciate you guys following the law. Thank you.
Just a real quick here. Gordon Ross, he's such a bitch. And just to show how fucked up this board is and how fucked up it is in Lawrence. So back in 2020, I think 2021, he lost his reelection bid. He was a board member. He lost his reelection bid. And then the person that unseated him resigned their position like a year later. And so the board held a community. If you could throw your hat in, people in the community could throw their hat in, and the board would decide who they wanted to put in for that board member that just resigned. Well, Gordon Ross is one of the people that threw his hat in. There was like 3 or 4 of the people that did. And the board, a little over a year ago, the community had voted him off the board. This board put him back on it. It's like, talk about listening to your fucking community constituents. He was out. He got voted out, and they put him back on. They had other people they could have put on there, but they put him back in. Isn't that fucked up?
It is. I'm having a coughing fit here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, isn't that fucked up?
Well, that's being for the people,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's a perfect example. I was talking to somebody earlier about how all this stuff bleeds across the different government entities around here. They all know each other. They all work for each other. They all help each other out. They all know the same people, hang in the same crowds, run in the same fields.
Well, it's a Democrat move. I mean, look what they did to Biden. Biden got the party's popular vote, and they just removed him because they didn't want him there, and they put in Harris regardless of what the people wanted. Same thing here. People didn't want Gordon Ross, but the board said, oh, no, we'll just put him back on.
Right.
Like it or not, he's going on. And that's him, Gordon Ross. He's a bitch, and he was a bitch during COVID too, man.
Yep. All right, so guys, this last pit, I really love the way Carrie went in there. And Carrie, if you're still on, we're going to watch you again, hon, because you were just awesome.
Yeah.
I ended mine they come back out and pull Carrie up to speak. And she lets them have it from a booth that they have in the district library.
Your turn. I wouldn't stand underneath that thing.
Okay, the last public comment.
But watch, she'll come up here and she'll move that
Carrie Schmidt.
microphone and stuff, and Kelly stays quiet. She doesn't say a word.
Yep. No problem when she does it.
Yep, Carrie's still here. She's watching herself.
Hey, Carrie.
Is it safe to stand under here now? I'm worried. It's kind of like your liability. Okay. Wowza. Can y'all hear me?
Can you restart it? She was getting settled to 3 o'clock.
Trying to.
No, it's okay. We want to get you back to the 3
What's
minutes.
going on here?
As she's moving the podium, it's okay. It's okay. We want to make sure you have your full 3 minutes. It's okay.
And we want to make sure you're safe and settled. But Michael, that was a disruption when you did it. But
Right.
it's fine.
Right. I think Carrie's right. I think they treat men and women differently.
Oh, no doubt.
As soon as you're settled, we'll start the clock. Welcome.
I don't know if I'll ever be settled. Can we scoot this back?
Just if you could.
I'll be further away from you. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem.
You can hear Kelly, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Now I feel like that's too. Sorry. Extra, but I am. Okay. With all due respect, I have to say that I'm appalled with how you all are treating certain people who speak at these meetings. Just because they aren't praising you doesn't mean that you get to decide what words they are allowed to say in here, interrupt them, or turn off their mics so no one can hear what they have to say. You caused this by the insane policy you set. You told me last meeting that I would get my time back after you rudely interrupted me while I was reading a book available to your high schoolers in the district. Then you spoke during my time, told me that I did not have the right to speak, and then my time was magically over. I'm speaking to show you how wrong you are and hypocritical your policy is, because although you preach decorum here, you provide porn and vulgarity to the students in this district. With that, I'm going to share with you just some book titles in the district that I think that you should know about. Here we go. Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch in a high school. Cock-a-doodle-dudley, elementary schools. You stopped me last time for saying that word. Yaki Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass, middle and high schools. Wonderful Pussy Willows in an elementary school. Lady, My Life as a Bitch in a high school. Their transformations of evolution.
You're muted. I think you're muted.
I was muted. Sorry about that. I wanted to stop that because out of all the books that I've heard mentioned, man, I really want to hear check out Yaki Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass.
Yeah.
I think that book title sounds awesome.
Well, as you'll notice, no warning has been issued, even though she's used foul language as well. That's
right. And she said something. She said bitch, and that was the word that got you and me attempted to be thrown out of there.
Yep, that's content discrimination right there.
Yep, and you were gone as soon as you said that word.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts. Out of there.
Right.
Not muted. LJ World removed.
Removed.
Otherwise known as a golden ass in a high school. Words Will Break Cement, The Passion of Pussy Riot in a high school. My Hero Academia, Volume 2, Rage, You Damned Nerd. In middle schools, Moby Dick, or The Whale, middle and high schools. You'll love Cock-a-Poos in an elementary school, and The Owl and the Pussycat in an elementary school. This one is good. The title is, Did Nobody Give a Shit What Happened to Carlotta? I picked up the book and opened it to a random page, and it said this. That's why men who don't be fucking men be fucking the fuck out of men up in their right, because human contact, just human contact at the end of the day, something warm with a hole right there, and you'll reach out and touch it. Because, that's quality right here.
Now, I mean, I didn't actually talk about sex, man. I mean,
yeah.
But they didn't even try to stop her there, and that was like talking about warm holes and just wanting to be fucking in there, man.
Yeah, and I'm watching this like, what the fuck is going on here? I say those words, I'm removed. Michael says those words. They shut down the meeting, but don't remove him. Carrie says those words. She doesn't even get a warning. It's like, what?
And
what
then,
how is that fair? How
and
is
then
that
I go tooling through this article, man, and I don't see nothing about Carrie at all in here.
Well, they don't mention Carrie whatsoever. They don't mention that. I mean, this is an obvious, glaring example that LJ World could have pointed out. They could have said something just as simple as, although other speakers were permitted to cuss, Michael and Justin were not. They
didn't fit the narrative though, because I mean, the only people that were in there causing a disruption was you and I.
Right. Yeah. But they don't even see a glaring discrepancy in the way that the rule is fucking applied. They don't even point that part out. It's amazing, man.
You can't. Well, I told somebody earlier, you can't fix stupid, but this is like a little more than stupid, man. And Carrie's right. They don't mention her at all. You know.
Nope, not a word. Not a word.
Yeah. And
it's like it didn't even happen.
And she hit him with
all words to be read by adolescents, but you pick and choose what words adults are able to say in these meetings and call me crazy, but that seems to go against our rights as damn Americans. Maybe you'll be okay with the book that's in elementary, this book that's in elementary and middle school is called The Body Book for Boys. Let's see what it has to say. You come across an ad in a magazine or on the web for some magical product that will make your penis bigger. It might be a cream, a pill, or even something called a penis pump. Don't be fooled, there's no way to change the size of your penis. Why is your district teaching elementary and middle school age students about sex toys? Shame on you.
Okay, your time's up.
I mean, really.
There it is.
I think the discrimination is clear, and the fact that the Lawrence Journal World, this is the second time that it's a clear article that is just full of their own spin and real loose with the details and the facts. I think 2 weeks ago we proved that when they tried to act like that I threatened Kelly and you know, ran up on her at the dais or something. Little did they know I had video of the whole thing that showed exactly what happened, 2 steps from the back of the room. And then this week with all these disruptions and everything, when the real disruption is a president of this board that just simply can't handle hearing some words. And I say hearing because I had the word on the paper the whole time I was in the room. This board is fucked up is what that paper said.
Yep.
And not a single problem with the fact that it's on that paper, just like it's not a single problem that the words are in the books in your schools.
Right.
It's
exactly.
not.
Exactly. And so let's just recap of what just happened with our 3 public comments within the context of at the LJ World wrote another article, a previous article about this meeting as well. And in that article, they've quoted one of the board members, his name's Bob Byers, is saying that he doesn't think anything productive or valuable is presented during general public comment. It's just become a disruption session. So let's recap what happened. When I spoke, I called out them for their double standards in the way that they aren't following their own harassment and general public comment policies. You spoke and pointed out how they're not being constitutional and they're being discriminatory in the way they're applying it. Carrie pointed out books that are in their school's library, but to Bob Byers, none of that is valuable information at all. None of it is even worth us even going in there to mention about.
Well, it's nothing he wants to hear.
It all relate to the board. They all relate to the school district. But for him and that board, they just say, oh, no, nothing valuable. It's just these crazy people coming in here saying all this foolish, mean stuff is all that's really taking place here. It's like, oh, really, Bob? So you don't want to hear anything about how you guys are violating your own policies. You don't want to hear anything about the books that are in your library. What function do you serve as a school board member then?
Well, like, you know, with the way he came back and couldn't find the right chair, I kind of got to wonder.
Lost. He's lost. Yeah, he's lost in more ways than one. Yep.
Man, guys, I'm going to put this front and center back up here because this is just nuts the way all this came out today. And this article, I guess I don't have a way to put it up there, front and center. Took it down from there, but
what is
this article? Oh, I was just going to put what the background is. But leaders recessing in meetings and leaving the room, and we've become too disruptive. I think it's pretty clear what happened there, and I think the solution is pretty easy. It's you allow the people to have their time, You don't interrupt them during that time. You're not expected to interact with them. You're not expected to make decisions. You're not expected to do anything about the things that they're saying during general public comment. You don't even have to engage in it, but you do have to let the people speak. You can be picky and choosy about who you engage with that speaks. You know, you can do that behind the scenes and decide, well, I'm going to talk to this person. I'm interested in what they said, but I'm not interested in what this other guy said, so I'm not going to reach out to them. That's very well, you're right. But to try to shut us down from being able to simply speak at your open public comment just for the words that we use, you can't do that. You can't. And it's been proven, it's case law across the country, and we're going to end up proving it here again. If we have to go to court to do it, so be it. Justin's already suing you. Do you need me suing you too? I mean, really?
Yeah. And the solution for LJ World, you know, just report the facts, report the entire story, And also, if you're going to run an article, a big, huge article, and the two main people that it's about, you don't even bother to reach out to and talk to and get their side of it, you're going to want to change that as well, because you're going to want to, you know, to get the full story of it, you're going to want to include the two people that you talk the most about in the article while you character assassinate them up there the entire time.
Otherwise, it's just propaganda, man.
It's just propaganda. And Chad, let's hope that you don't find yourself in that situation someday where you got some piece of shit community paper writing nothing but hit pieces about you at some point in the future. Let's hope that doesn't happen to you. I don't think you're not going to be an editor of the Journal World forever. Nope. So it could happen to you, just like Courtney Shipley didn't think it would happen to her, but she's not going to be a commissioner forever, and she wasn't. And I won't give one fuck when it happens to you.
No, not at all.
Yep.
What else? Are we good?
I think that's good. Would we go 2.5? All right, man.
It went fast. Sorry for dragging on, guys, but I appreciate y'all hanging in. And again, let the Journal World know that you've seen the truth, and let your public officials know that you've seen the truth and that you know what the truth is. And so this spin isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, demand that they're better at their jobs. Demand it.
And if you can't trust this story, what's the next story you can't trust? Maybe it'll be something that's vital to you that's all spin and you're not going to know.
Yep. And speaking of that, I'm going to call right now, since we're doing a live stream on LJ World. Probably within the next week, there'll be another hit piece article coming out on us. So we'll see what happens.
Sure. Well, and we'll do another live stream on that one, guys. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Have a
say whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Nice fun, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
This has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
You think you can still control my life, control never yours to take.
You're telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things once my way, when it all gets ripped away. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide.